Chapter 594. Cloud Sea Academy, Class 6-1. The girl with low self-esteem, Mu Wanqing, was cultivating. She didn't follow the usual energy circulation route. Instead, she followed the circulation route that Immortal had just mentioned. The first 2 cycles were normal. During the 3rd cycle, the energy passed through the dragon spine acupoint. During the 4th cycle, the energy passed through the dragon wing acupoint. When her energy had just passed through the dragon wing acupoint, she suddenly felt that all the meridians in her body seemed to have become much smoother. These meridians seemed to be much thicker than before. She hurriedly increased the energy output. 5 minutes later, the aura on her body suddenly rose. A huge wave of air spread out in all directions. It blew over the tables and chairs, causing the nearby students to sway. A moment later, the wave of air receded. Mu Wanqing opened her eyes. She was in disbelief and pleasant surprise. She looked at Immortal and said, "Instructor, I broke through and became a rank 4 evolved dragon." After saying that, she still couldn't believe it. Previously, she felt that it would be very difficult for her to break through again. Even if she could break through, it would probably take more than 100 years. Not only did she feel that way, but the instructors in the academy also felt the same way. That was why she had always felt inferior. How could Instructor Mo just say a few words and she broke through? Outside the door, the dean was stunned when he heard this. A few words of guidance and she broke through immediately. This was simply unheard of. Even the instructors of the first-rate schools in the Myriad Dragon Star region couldn't do this. When the dean saw this scene, his face revealed his usual shocked expression. Just 2 simple acupoints allowed a student to break through immediately. No one would believe it. When dragons generally needed dozens or hundreds of years to break through, it was simply a joke to teach someone to break through in 5 minutes. Incredible, incredible, the dean muttered to himself. This instructor Mo must stay no matter what. He was definitely an expert. An expert who was much stronger than him. Of course, it was impossible for such an expert to stay in a small place like the Cloud Sea Academy. But even if he only stayed for a period of time, it would be a great fortune for the Cloud Sea Academy. Emo's move instantly stunned all the students present. Mu Wanqing lowered her head and said softly, "Mentor Mo, thank you." Although his voice was very soft, it could be heard that he was grateful from the bottom of his heart. At this time, a tall and muscular student stood up and said in a coarse voice, "Let's go." "Mentor Mo, my name is Tuchin Earth City. Please give me some advice. Ever since I entered the academy, I haven't broken through." When he said this, his voice was filled with excitement. Generally, it would take around 100 years for an evolved colossal dragon to break through. However, all those who were able to enter the academy were geniuses. After he entered Ocean of Clouds Academy, he'd been able to break through at least once during the 50+ years from the 1st grade to the 6th grade. However, ever since he entered the academy, not only had he not broken through even once, the energy in his body had not increased at all. It was as if the energy in his body had been locked by invisible shackles. In the end, he simply gave up on himself and gave up on cultivating. Anyway, he was just muddling along and getting a graduation certificate. Now that he saw that Instructor Mo could actually help Mu Wanqing break through, it was obvious that he also had great hope. The other students also looked at Mo sure. "Mentor Mo, please give me some advice." "Mentor Mo, me too, me too." "Mentor Mo, I also haven't broken through for 2 days. Please give me some advice again." "Get lost, you just broke through the day before yesterday. Why are you here?" "Mentor Su Mo can give you advice, but he can't give me advice." However, Mo sure did not immediately agree to them. When it came to students, you couldn't always spoil them. You could do whatever they wanted. Then what would you do if they wanted to ride on your neck and poop in the future? Moreover, among these people, there was a guy with the spatial attribute and a guy with the metal attribute. At present, Mo sure didn't know anything about the cultivation of space and metal attributes. Therefore, he waved his hand. I'm just your homeroom teacher, not your class instructor. Each attribute has its own instructor. You'd better learn from them. Hearing Mo Shi's words, the other students were all disappointed. Mo Shi continued. However, it's not like you don't have a chance to receive my guidance. When the students heard this, they all raised their heads. Mo Shi continued. Do you all know how to play war chess? When the students heard this, they were all a little confused, but they all nodded. In the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, war chess was still relatively popular. These students more or less knew a little. Mo Shi continued. Your temperaments are too weak. Practicing war chess can hone your temperament. I'll give you 10 days to learn war chess from me. When your impetuous hearts slowly calm down, I'll give you some guidance in your cultivation. When the students heard this, they felt that it was strange. What did cultivation have to do with war chess? However, when they heard that they had a chance to receive Mentor Mo's guidance, they were all very excited. After all, it was very likely that they would have a chance to break through immediately. In fact, cultivation and war chess had nothing to do with each other. The reason why Mo Shi said that he would teach them 10 days of war chess had nothing to do with their temperament. According to the system's rules, no matter what he taught someone, as long as they reached 10 days, the system would recognize that person as Mo Shi's disciple. Therefore, Mo Shi would teach them 10 days of war chess first. When the time came, they would become Mo Shi's disciples. At that time, Mo Shi would have 20 disciples in one go. If he signed in again, he should be able to get some good stuff. It was said that he could also sign in for Metal Attribute and Space Attribute Dragon 9 transformations. This was Mo Shi's real plan. Therefore, for the next few days, Mo Shi really taught these students how to play war chess. Although the students' standards varied, no matter how good they were not as good as Mo Shi's. One had to know that he had once won the runner-up position in a chess competition organized by the city on Earth. Wasn't it easy to teach these students? These days, the dean had been a little confused. Mentor Mo was able to control these students. This made him very satisfied. However, Mentor Mo didn't let these students learn cultivation and various theoretical knowledge from him. Instead, he wanted them to learn war chess from him. This was a little too ridiculous. Even if it was to hone their temperament, this was still really incomprehensible. One had to know that every parent in the 6th grade graduating class hoped that their children could learn more in the academy, so they were very strict with them. If these students went back and said that they were learning war chess from their mentor every day, what would those guys think? Their parents would probably come to the academy soon. Chapter 595. In fact, the dean's worries were not without reason. Some parents of students came to the academy, and it was not just one, but more than 10 parents. They came to the dean's office. Some were aggressive, and some were frowning. They insisted on asking the dean for an explanation. Dean, our child will graduate in 3 years. It was only 3 years. We all hope that he can learn more useful knowledge in the academy. But the new instructor only taught him how to play war chess. Isn't that too ridiculous? Dean, I don't know what kind of magic potion that instructor fed our child. He actually said that the instructor taught them war chess to hone their temperament. What's even more ridiculous is that the instructor can actually guide the students to break through immediately. Yes, since he can guide the students to break through immediately, why can't he guide our daughter? If he can't guide our child to break through, then please teach our child some useful things. Don't play so many tricks. The dean shook his head. Everyone, our Cloud Sea Academy is a famous academy in the entire Cloud Sea planet. We have absolute credibility. In terms of teaching methods, every instructor has their own set of methods. The reason why instructor Mo let the students learn war chess is to hone their temperament. As for the breakthrough you mentioned, it's not nonsense. It's true. I'll show you a video and you'll understand. As he spoke, the dean played the video of Mo Shi guiding Mu Wanqing to break through in 5 minutes. Those people were all shocked when they saw it. This is actually true. But this is just too unbelievable. Even if I see it with my own eyes, I still can't believe it. Dean, I'm not doubting you, but this is too unbelievable. Could it be that this video is photoshopped? The parent who spoke regretted it as soon as he spoke. The instructors of Cloud Sea Academy had an extremely high social status on Cloud Sea Planet. Especially the dean of Cloud Sea Academy. It was said that he was a super-evolved dragon. He was a big shot. Would he be angry with him for speaking to him like that? The dean shook his head and said, I've asked Instructor Mo, I've also asked Teacher Mo. He also said that after 10 days, if the child's temperament has been tempered to a certain level, he will guide that student. As for whether or not the other child would be able to break through, I was also looking forward to it. If any of you still have any doubts, you can come to me when the time comes. We'll know when we have a look. When the parents heard this, they looked at each other. Although they still found it hard to believe, they couldn't say anything else since the dean had already said so. In the end, they all nodded in agreement. Then let's wait and see if they can make a breakthrough in 10 days. Today was Mo Shi's 10th day as an instructor. These 20 students were officially recognized by the system as Mo Shi's disciples. That night, Mo Shi said in his mind, System, accepting 20 disciples can be considered a special event. Sign in for a special event. The system's voice sounded frowny face sign in successful. Sign in event, 20 new disciples. Sign in reward, Void Dragon 9 Transformations Skill and Technique, Golden Dragon 9 Transformations Skill and Technique. Mo Shi was overjoyed. His guess was right. The system had indeed given him these 2 rewards. He immediately entered the space and learned the skills and techniques of the Void Dragon 9 Transformations and the Golden Dragon 9 Transformations. He had already mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the spatial and metal attributes. In this way, Mo Shi had completely mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. At the same time, he had also mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the 3 special attributes, thunder, poison, and space. He had mastered all the theoretical knowledge of 8 attributes. This was definitely an unprecedented existence in the history of the entire Myriad Dragon Star Zone. In the history of the entire Flaming Origin continent, the one who had mastered the most was a giant dragon known as the King of Chaos. That was a peerless genius. He was born with 2 types of elemental energy. Later, his dragon bloodline mutated twice, allowing him to possess 4 types of elemental energy. Finally, he had a fortuitous encounter and possessed all the 5 elemental energies. Because of this, he spent a lot of effort to study all the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements. He became a master of the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements. After him, no other giant dragon had mastered more than 4 types of elemental theoretical knowledge. After all, the dragon race had been passed down for millions of years. The theoretical knowledge of each attribute had accumulated to an unimaginable level. It was extremely time-consuming to completely master a single attribute. If you spent all your time on theoretical knowledge, would you still be able to cultivate? But now, Mo Shi had mastered the theoretical knowledge of 8 attributes. Moreover, this knowledge was richer and more mature than any theoretical knowledge in the world. This was something that these giant dragons could not even imagine. The next day, before Mo Shi arrived at the academy, more than 10 parents had already gathered in the dean's office. Now that 10 days had passed, they wanted to see what kind of ability this teacher who only taught their children war chess all day had. At 8:00 in the morning, Mo Shi entered the academy on time. He let out a long yawn. Last night, he played very late with Happy again. According to his habit, he would sleep until 11 or 12:00 before waking up. But after all, he was a teacher now and had to be a role model. Therefore, he got up early and did not eat breakfast. Only then did he enter the classroom on time. As he looked at the podium, he shook his head secretly. It seemed that he had to control himself when he played in the future. In the dean's office, all the parents' gazes fell on Mo Sure. In class 6-1, all the students' gazes also fell on Mo Sure. Mo Sure knew what they were waiting for. He nodded and said, "In the past 10 days, I've been very satisfied with your performance in war chess. So I've decided that all of you can receive my guidance today." "Wow! That's great." "Really?" The students immediately burst into an uproar. Mo Sure glanced at the students, and the boiling students quickly suppressed their excitement. They were afraid that if they did not perform well, the teacher would take back what he had just said. Mo Sure pointed at a thin boy and said, "Golden Sword, try to cultivate for me to see." Golden Sword nodded. His eyes were full of sharpness. He was already a 5th-level evolved giant dragon, the one with the highest level in this class. After he finished cultivating, Mo Sure shook his head and said, "Don't worry. When you run the 7th cycle, after the energy flows through the Silong acupoint, don't go through the Earth Dragon acupoint. Instead, go through the Dragon Spine acupoint first, and then go through the Sky Dragon acupoint. Nothing else changes." In the dean's office, Golden Sword's father suddenly became anxious. Chapter 596. Jin Jian's father panicked when he heard Mo Sure's instructions. "Dean, stop him. You should know that our golden dragon's energy is very sharp, and the heavenly dragon's cave is very fragile. If we go through the heavenly dragon's cave, we might break it. If that happens, my son will be crippled. None of our metal-type dragons have ever gone through the heavenly dragon's cave." The other parents' expressions changed when they heard that. "Stop him. Dean, does he know how to teach?" "It's too late." Seeing that the parents were about to explode, the dean released Longwei from his body. He was a super-evolved giant dragon. His Longwei was not something these parents could bear. A chill rose from the bottom of these parents' hearts. They instantly quieted down. Actually, as the head of the school, the dean should not have used Longwei on the parents. However, if he did not use Longwei now, these parents were about to explode. In the 6th grade classroom. When Jin Jian heard Mo Sure's words, he was still a little confused. However, when he thought about how Mu Wanqing was in the same situation when she broke through, he immediately felt confident. According to Mo Sure, after the 7th cycle of energy, they should not go through the heavenly dragon's cave. Instead, they should go through the dragon spine cave first, and then the heavenly dragon's cave. The next moment, Jin Jian's expression changed drastically, and his body trembled violently. Mo Sure's right index finger pressed directly on the heavenly dragon's cave on top of his head. After a while, large beads of sweat dripped down from Jin Jian's head. Mo Sure was relieved. Jin Jian's breakthrough had failed. Not only did it fail, but when the energy was in the heavenly dragon's cave, the heavenly dragon's cave was almost crippled by the sharp metal-type energy. When the students saw this scene, they were all shocked. In the dean's office, the dean frowned. He wanted these parents to watch Teacher Mo's performance, but it turned out to be a slap in the face. How the hell was he going to explain this? He glanced at the parents. Sure enough, their expressions all changed. Although they were suppressed by their Longwei and did not dare to say anything, they were furious. However, Mo Sure soon gave an explanation. He shook his head and said, "Jin Jian, why did you hesitate when you were attacking the heavenly dragon cave?" Jin Jian's eyes were no longer as sharp as before. He said, "I've never been to the dragon spine cave before, especially the heavenly dragon cave. Since I was young, all the seniors have told me that the sword chi of the metal element should never go through the heavenly dragon cave. Otherwise, at the very least, his acupoints would be crippled. At the very least, all the meridians in his body would be broken, and he would never be able to recover. So I hesitated." Mo Sure shook his head. "It's because you hesitated that you missed the best time." You all think that the dragon spine acupoint is a useless acupoint and is completely useless in cultivation. Actually, let me tell you, the Longji acupoint is the most useful of all the acupoints. Its function was to stimulate other acupoints. When the energy passes through the Longji acupoint at a specific time, it can stimulate different acupoints. After 7 cycles, you'll have to go through the Longji acupoint to stimulate the Tianlong acupoint. After the Heavenly Dragon acupoint was stimulated, its flexibility and strength were greatly enhanced. It was completely capable of withstanding the sharp metal energy. But this time was very short, only an instant. You hesitated just now and missed the best opportunity. As the saying goes, if you're sincere, it'll work. Since you're not sincere, you can retreat. Hearing this, Jin Jian immediately said in fear, Mentor, I won't hesitate anymore. I'll definitely break through this time. Mo Shi waved his hand and said to everyone. Mu Wanqing, if you're sincere, break through immediately. Jin Jian, if you're not sincere, you won't be able to break through. Instead, you'll almost go crazy. You'll have to think about how to choose. The students looked at each other. Finally, their gazes fell on Mu Wanqing. Mu Wanqing felt everyone's gaze and her cheeks immediately turned red. Her head could be buried under the table. Finally, a student with the fire element stepped forward. Mentor, let me do it. Mo Shi nodded. Begin. That student practiced it once. Mo Shi gave a few simple instructions. The student followed Mo Shi's instructions and practiced again. 5 minutes later, a stream of air suddenly came out of his body and rushed in all directions. Fortunately, Mo Shi was prepared. He condensed an energy shield and covered him, shielding him from the shock wave when he broke through. All the students were pleasantly surprised when they saw this. He really broke through. As long as we follow the mentor's instructions and don't hesitate, we'll definitely break through. Originally, we had to cultivate for decades or even hundreds of years, but with the mentor's guidance, we broke through in 5 minutes. It's too scary. In the dean's office, the dean was relieved when he saw Mo Shi guiding the students to break through immediately again. He looked at the parents again and saw that their eyes were also full of shock. The dean took back Long Wei and said to the parents, I'm sorry. I had to do that just now. However, the parents didn't take the fact that the dean used Long Wei to suppress them. Because at this time, they were all shocked by what they saw just now. Dean, this is true. With some guidance, she broke through immediately in 5 minutes. My son didn't lie to me. Dean, quickly let him guide my daughter. My daughter hasn't broken through for 30 years. Only Jin Jian's father hated that he couldn't go up and give his son 2 tight slaps when he saw this. Of all people to suspect, he had to suspect Mentor Mo. Now, Mentor Mo won't let you break through. What should you do? Just tell me what you should do. Next, Mo Shi guided the students one by one. Those students broke through immediately one after another. In the end, only 2 people were left. One was Jin Jian, the other was Tu Cheng. Jin Jian's father was so anxious that his head was full of sweat. Dean, please talk to Mentor Mo. I'll do whatever you want. As long as he agrees to let my son break through, I'll pay any price. The dean chuckled and said, Don't worry, Mentor Su is just teaching Jin Jian a lesson. In fact, he still values your son very much. Otherwise, why would he ask your son to break through first? Jin Jian's father was slightly relieved when he heard this. In fact, the reason why Mo Shi asked Jin Jian to break through first was that he had plundered the memories of all the students. He knew clearly what these students were thinking. Jin Jian was the one who doubted him the most among all the students. He originally planned to ask Jin Jian to come out and set a negative example to make an example out of him. He didn't expect Jin Jian to come out by himself and hit the muzzle of the gun. At this time, Mo Shi looked at Tu Cheng. Then he looked at Jin Jian. He said, Jin Jian, I'll give you 3 days to reflect. Yes. Chapter 597. This time, Golden Sword did not dare to hesitate anymore. He did not dare to have any doubts about Immortal's orders. When he saw the other students breaking through under the guidance of the teachers, he had already made up his mind. From now on, he would not have the slightest doubt about any of the teachers' words. When the teachers, including the dean, saw that Immortal had grasped almost all the attributes' knowledge, they could not help but open their eyes wide. How many attributes has Teacher Immortal grasped? It's simply unbelievable. There are 20 students in this class, and they all know the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes. Just now, there was also an ice and space attributes. It's already very dangerous to know all the 5 elements, but he even grasped the ice and space attributes, these rare attributes' knowledge. This is simply unimaginable. The dean was also dumbfounded. These parents only knew that Immortal had grasped 7 attributes. But the dean knew that other than these attributes, Immortal had also grasped the lightning attribute knowledge. At this moment, he no longer doubted that Immortal had grasped almost all the attributes' theoretical knowledge. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, lightning, wind, poison, time, and space. One person grasped so many attributes' knowledge. How did this guy learn? Could it be that he did not cultivate? Did he use all his time to study theoretical knowledge? But before, he only used long way to suppress so many students. This means that he is very likely a super-evolved giant dragon. In other words, the amount of time he had to cultivate was definitely not little, even more than an ordinary giant dragon. Then how did he grasp all this knowledge? Could it be that he is a time attribute giant dragon? But the time attribute is extremely rare. Currently, in the entire 10,000 dragon star field, there are less than 10 people with the time attribute. Every time attribute giant dragon would be roped in by those big forces. How could he come to the small Cloud Sea planet and teach in the Cloud Sea Academy? It seems that I have to find Teacher Mo to understand all of this. At this moment, Immortal continued to speak to Golden Sword. 3 days later, I will see your performance. Yes. Golden Sword said again. Then, Immortal looked at the tall and mighty Tucheng. This guy is almost 2 sizes bigger than me. According to Immortal's understanding, before Tucheng entered the academy, he was an absolute genius there. However, ever since it had evolved into a rank 1 colossal dragon and entered the Ocean of Clouds Academy, it hadn't advanced another rank. And because he was too tall, he was at least 2 meters tall. His movements seemed to be somewhat inconvenient. Because of these 2 reasons, many people rolled their eyes and mocked him. At the beginning, Tucheng Earth City also felt inferior for a while. But later on, he gradually became thick-skinned. He began to give up on himself and went all out. Thus, he did not cultivate much. He could be said to be the most useless student in the entire academy. He looked tall and strong, but in fact, any random student in the academy would be able to beat him to a pulp. At this time, Tucheng Earth City's eyes, which have not appeared in brilliance for decades, are full of eager eyes. Instructor Mo, it's my turn. It's my turn. Immortal nodded and turned to the rest of the students. Today's class has been going on for half a day. You should all rest. As for Tucheng Earth City, come with me. As he spoke, his mind flickered. The 2 of them instantly disappeared from the classroom. The surrounding students thought that they had teleported nearby. However, through exploration, they found that the instructor and Tucheng Earth City were not nearby, not even in the academy. Tucheng Earth City's father saw this scene and asked the dean in surprise, "Dean, this?" The dean smiled and shook his head. "Don't worry, Instructor Mo just took Tucheng Earth City to a place." As soon as the voice fell, Immortal and Tucheng Earth City reappeared in the place where they had just disappeared. At this time, Tucheng Earth City did not have the previous decadence and self-abandonment look. Instead, he had a confident smile on his face. He disappeared for less than 3 seconds. How could he suddenly change into another person? Tucheng Earth City's father's eyes were wide open. He even wondered if Instructor Mo had stuffed other people's souls into his son's body. Tucheng Earth City, get ready today. From tomorrow onwards, you will practice according to my method. Yes. Tucheng Earth City's face was full of smiles and gratitude. All the students in the classroom and the parents in the dean's office were dumbfounded. Where did they go in the last 3 seconds? What did Instructor Mo say to Tucheng Earth City? In fact, within 3 seconds, Mo sure took Tucheng Earth City to the Earth space. The scene replayed, in the Earth space, Mo sure and Tucheng Earth City suddenly appeared. Tucheng Earth City looked at the completely unfamiliar planet and asked, Instructor, where is this? Mo sure said, this is a planet. Tucheng Earth City asked, Instructor, why did you bring me here? Mo sure, you don't have to cultivate. Even if you cultivate until you die, you won't be able to advance another level. Tucheng Earth City. Instructor, I know my talent is poor, but it shouldn't be so bad, right? Mo sure, your talent is not bad. Being able to enter the Cloud Sea Academy shows that your talent is much better than the average giant dragon. Then, why have all my classmates advanced in the past few decades, but I'm still in the same place? Not to mention that I didn't advance, my energy didn't even increase by a bit. My dad and those instructors have thought of many ways, but it didn't work. Mo sure said, because you have a planetary body. After a planetary body evolves to a level 1 dragon, the realm will no longer advance. Tucheng Earth City's eyes widened. A planetary body? You mean a terrifying existence that can eventually turn the body into an entire planet? Isn't that just a legend? Mo sure, many legends are true. From the first time he saw Tucheng Earth City, the eye of the demon dragon let him know that this guy was an incredible planetary body. Tucheng Earth City then asked, but according to legend, a planetary body depends on perception to continue to grow stronger. And in the millions of years of the giant dragon's history, there have been more than 10,000 planetary bodies, but only one giant dragon has achieved a true planetary body. The success rate is so low that it makes the dragon's hair stand on end. Mo sure nodded. That's because they didn't realize anything at the end of their lives. Tucheng Earth City's expression dimmed. Instructor, do you think someone as stupid as me will realize it before the end of their lives? Mo sure said, with my method, even an idiot will be able to comprehend it in the end. Tucheng Earth City heard this and immediately became excited. Really? The next moment, Mo sure's mind moved. Tucheng Earth City's entire body began to expand rapidly. Slowly, it turned into a boulder, a mountain range, until it became an entire planet. At this time, Tucheng Earth City was the planet, and the planet was Tucheng Earth City. Mo sure said to the huge planet that had just appeared above Earth, now that you're a planet, feel it carefully. After saying that, he sped up the time again. In just a short moment, it was as if tens of billions of years had passed. Tens of billions of years was enough for a planet to slowly take shape from nothing. What Mo sure wanted was for Tucheng Earth City to slowly feel this process. Chapter 598. From an outsider's perspective, Mo sure and Tucheng only disappeared for 3 seconds. But in reality, after Mo sure brought him to Earth, he sped up the passage of time in Earth's space. 3 seconds is equivalent to 10 billion years. Some say this is too exaggerated. Come on, Mo sure is the god here. Here, he is the omniscient and omnipotent creator. There is nothing he can't do. In this accelerated time of 10 billion years, Tucheng has been feeling the changes in his body. He seems to have understood something. Then, Mo sure stuffed Tucheng into Earth's core with another thought. Letting him stay inside for 10 billion years, letting him keep feeling. After 10 billion years, Tucheng's eyes lit up as soon as he came out. Mentor, I've realized something. Mo sure said, using my method, even a fool can realize it, am I right? Tucheng nodded excitedly. Then, his entire body began to change rapidly. He directly revealed his dragon body. The 1,000-meter-long dragon body began to change. The color of the scales on it was constantly changing. It slowly turned into the color of a stone. His entire body was like a boulder that hasn't moved for thousands of years. The spikes on his back were also constantly changing. They looked like trees that had grown out of a boulder thousands of years ago. Emosure tried to attack a few times, then nodded and said, not bad, the current you can withstand the attacks of a 7th order evolved dragon at most. When you turn into a stone form, dragons below the 7th order can't do anything to you, including 7th order. Tuchen was suddenly overjoyed. Previously, he was only a rank 1 evolved giant dragon. Dragons below the 1st order could bully him. He didn't expect that dragons below the 7th order couldn't do anything to him. This change was so great that it was shocking. Emosure continued, from now on, I will take you to experience the growth of a planet every day. I believe that it won't be long before your strength will far surpass others. Tuchen hurriedly said, thank you, Mentor. Finally, he asked another question, Mentor, where is this place? An illusion I created, Emosure said. Tuchen Earth City was very surprised. Could a teacher create such a realistic illusion? It was said that some giant dragons could create illusions, but those illusions always had some flaws and weren't too realistic. Only those extremely powerful super-evolved dragons could create illusions that could not be seen through. Could it be that Tutor had already become a super-evolved dragon? Thinking of this, he looked at his mentor in surprise. However, Emosure had already brought him back to the classroom with a single thought. Then he said to Tuchen Earth City, it's best not to mention this to anyone. Tuchen Earth City also replied, don't worry, teacher. I'm not stupid enough to ruin my future with my own hands. He knew that only Emosure could bring him into that illusory realm. In that illusion, Emosure could speed up the passage of time, allowing him to feel the growth of a planet in a very short period of time. If he told the others and angered the tutor, he would be the only one who would suffer. In the dean's office, Tuchen Earth City's father saw that everyone else had broken through, only his son had not broken through. He couldn't help but feel anxious. But the expression on his son's face suddenly changed. He was no longer as decadent as before, but full of confidence and gratitude to Emosure. He knew that something must have happened in between. So after school, he went to find his son. On the way home with his son, he asked, you didn't break through? Tuchen Earth City shook his head, no breakthrough in level. But under the guidance of my mentor, my strength has improved by leaps and bounds. Father Tuchen Earth frowned slightly, everyone else has broken through, only you haven't. Even if your strength has improved by leaps and bounds, how strong can it be? Tuchen Earth City said, so strong that I can use my body to withstand the attack of any giant dragon below the 7th order. Tuchen Earth City's father suddenly stopped in his tracks. He turned to look at his son. He wanted to see if his son was exaggerating. However, from his son's eyes and face, he could not see any evasiveness. In other words, his son was telling the truth. He couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. That mentor Mo was so amazing. Just 3 seconds of guidance, and his son's strength suddenly became strong enough to withstand the attack of a 7th order evolved giant dragon with his body. This was more awesome than taking drugs. Tell me, what the hell is going on? Tuchen Earth City shook his head. The mentor said, let me not talk to others. No. Since when did your father become an outsider? Father Tuchen Earth was so anxious that he directly burst out swearing. Tuchen Earth City was still very firm, if I tell others casually and annoy the mentor, he will never teach me again. When Tuchen Earth City said this, Father Tuchen Earth could only shake his head helplessly. Okay, I won't ask. But then again, what's the matter with the planetary body? Tuchen Earth City said, it's talking about my physique. I have a planetary body, so it's useless to cultivate again. But with the mentor's method, I can even turn my body into a planet in the future. My defense is also at the planetary level. Tuchen Earth City's father wondered, planetary body? It's said that it's a genius body that may only appear once in 100 years. In fact, the success rate is very low. At most, Only 1 in 10,000 planetary bodies can eventually achieve a planetary body. So this planetary body is also called a waste body. Tucheng Earth City's eyes were full of confidence. Dad, you can rest assured. With the mentor, I have absolute confidence that before graduation, I can reach the level where I can use my body to withstand the attack of a 10th order evolved dragon. Hiss. Father Tucheng Earth took a breath of cold air. If that's the case, his son is equivalent to being invincible below the 10th order evolved dragon. Then the future of his Tucheng Earth family is promising. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but secretly look forward to it. He said, "Your mentor is a really capable person. You have to have a good attitude in front of him in the future. Don't be like before. You always cause me trouble for no reason. Don't worry, Dad. With such a mentor around, if I don't seize the time and make good use of the time before graduation, then I'm a fool." Father Tucheng Earth saw that his son finally knew how to make progress, and his eyes couldn't help but be slightly hot. After his son found that he had not broken through in the past 3 years, he gradually became decadent. He had been decadent until now. He could only comfort himself that his son came to the college to get a graduation certificate. He never expected that this new mentor would bring such a huge change to his son. Chapter 599. Mo Sure used one class to conquer all the students. Apart from Earth City and Golden Sword, all the students advanced by 1 level. However, it was far from enough to advance by 1 level. Their combat strength did not increase significantly. So Mo Sure applied to the school to take these students out for training. Every homeroom teacher and mentor had a chance to take the students out for training every semester. The previous homeroom teacher, Jean Pontu, had not taken the students out for training this semester. On Earth, when the teachers took the students out, they were all trembling with fear. Some were afraid of danger, and some were afraid of accidents. If something happened, they would not be able to explain it to their parents. However, in the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, the giant dragons' physiques were extremely strong. As long as they were not killed on the spot, even if they were seriously injured, they could usually recover in a short time. Therefore, the teachers were free to bring the students out for training. Before leaving, the dean designated an area for Mo Sure. This is the Misty Mountains. You can train in the southern area of the mountains. The star beasts here are around 100 to 150 years old. The northern part of the Misty Mountains is shrouded in thick fog all year round. Moreover, the mountains are high and the forests are dense. It has become the hiding place of many dragon bandits. It is said that there are as many as 600 to 700 dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains. Therefore, you must not go there. The dean knew that Mo Sure was very likely a super-evolved giant dragon and was not afraid of these dragon bandits at all. However, he still had to give the necessary instructions. Hearing the dean's words, Mo Sure could not help but be secretly happy. "If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known. Since you said so, I naturally have to go." The next morning, Mo Sure took the students and set off for the Misty Mountains. When the students heard that they were going out for training, they were all very excited. They looked forward to going out for training every semester. However, when they reached the forest in the southern part of the Misty Mountains, Mo Sure quickly made them realize the reality. All of them could not even deal with a small 100-year star beast cub. This was simply King useless. "What have you been doing for the past 50 years? Mo Sure was slightly angry. The students looked ashamed. "Instructor, when Instructor Jean brought us out for training, we always worked together to kill star beast cubs. We have never fought a star beast cub alone before." Mo Sure couldn't help but chuckle. "You're about to graduate. After graduation, unless you join the army, you won't have many opportunities to gather together. Could it be that at that time, when you saw the star beast cubs, you could only run away? You guys think that it's easy for you to find a job after graduating from a famous school. But you never know which comes first, tomorrow or the accident. What if you encounter a baby star beast when you're alone? Even if you go to the army, it will be 1,000 times crueler than here. People like you won't even be able to clean the toilet bowl. After being scolded by Immortal, the students all lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. Even the naughtiest students in the class were stunned by Immortal's scolding. Next, Immortal repeated the training he did for Lei Ren. These students first fought a 100-year-old star beast cub alone. Immortal not only taught them how to exert force, but also how to condense energy in any part of their body. After a short 3 days, these students were already able to deal with 100-year-old star beast cubs. After 10 years, they could deal with 110-year-old star beasts. Then, it was 120-year-old star beasts, 130-year-old star beasts. In the end, no matter their level, almost every student could deal with a star beast cub that was one level higher than them. After that, Immortal imparted the various 9 dragon transformations that he had learned before to them. Of course, Immortal only imparted the first and second transformations to them. Just to master the first and second transformations would take a few months. As for the third transformation and beyond, it was purely up to luck. After spending 1.5 months to master the first 2 transformations of these dragons, every student could rely on these 2 transformations to fight against star beasts that were at least 5 levels above them. Some were even able to fight star beasts that were at least 160, 70, 80, and even 80 to 90 years old. If converted to the level of giant dragons, they could basically deal with evolved giant dragons that were at least 6 levels higher than them. And among these students, the one who performed the most outstanding was Jin Jian. Because he was not sincere before, Immortal told him to break through in 3 days. From then on, he did not hesitate to follow Immortal's orders. After 3 days, Immortal told him to start breaking through. As a result, this guy broke through by 2 levels. He jumped from level 4 to level 6 evolved giant dragon. This made the students in the class so shocked that their jaws almost fell to the ground. Every level of a giant dragon's breakthrough was very difficult. At their level, it was considered fast to break through one level in 100 years. The mentor took them to break through in 5 minutes, which was enough to shock everyone. As a result, Jin Jian, this guy, actually broke through 2 levels in 10 minutes. It was really too shocking. Now, Jin Jian was one of the 2 students with the highest level in the entire class. And his metal attribute energy was extremely sharp. When he learned to attach metal attribute energy to every part of his body, it was as if every part of his body was equipped with extremely sharp blades. Every move could cut through gold and stone. The only person in the class who did not break through was Tucheng Earth City. When the mentor taught everyone in the class all kinds of 9 dragon transformations, the only person who did not teach was Tucheng Earth City. But Tucheng Earth City did not seem to be disappointed. On the contrary, he was always happy. When the students saw this, they all secretly pitied Tucheng Earth City. He had been left far behind by the other students and could not make the slightest progress. On the surface, he looked indifferent, but in fact, his heart must be very uncomfortable. How could they know that the current Tucheng Earth City, after a month and a half in Immortal's space on Earth, had also improved at a rapid pace? Before, he could only turn into a boulder. But now, Tucheng Earth City could directly turn into a mountain that was 10,000 meters tall. What was the use of this mountain? It fell directly from the sky and hit you, would you be afraid? As for the defense, there was nothing to say. This mountain was not like an ordinary mountain that could be easily knocked down by evolved giant dragons. This mountain was extremely tough. It would be extremely difficult to knock down this mountain if one was not a super evolved dragon. In fact, in terms of strength, Tucheng Earth City was already the strongest among all the students. These students were just fooling around. Under Tucheng Earth City's attack, destroying a city would not be a problem. However, Immortal did not let Tucheng Earth City take action for the time being. If he took action, the others would not have to gain experience. If a mountain came down, those star beast cubs would all be crushed into meat paste, and they would gain experience. Chapter 600. After 2 months of training, the students had mastered all kinds of 9 dragon transformations. Now, almost every student could use all kinds of 9 dragon transformations to defeat opponents that were at least 4 ranks higher. Some of the stronger and sharper attributes, such as Golden Sword, could already be invincible against those below the super-evolved giant dragon. At this time, there were only 5 days left until the graduation exam. The dean had already contacted Mo and asked him to bring the students back to the academy as soon as possible. Mo agreed. Then, he said to the students, "Since you're almost done with your training, I'll bring you to do something big today." The students didn't know what Mo meant, but they were all very excited. In the past 2 months, each of them could kill star beast cubs that were above their ranks. He had even hunted and killed a 200-year-old star beast cub. In their opinion, this was already quite an achievement. They didn't expect that in the eyes of their teacher, this was nothing. They were going to do something big next. Did he want them to kill star beast cubs that were more than 200 years old? What a joke, that was an existence equivalent to a super-evolved giant dragon. If they went up, wouldn't they be looking for trouble? But it didn't matter, with their teacher beside them, what did they not dare to do? Although until now, they hadn't seen their teacher in action. But they knew that their teacher's strength was definitely that of a super-evolved giant dragon. After all, their teacher had taught them for 2 months, and each of them could defeat enemies that were 4 or 5 ranks higher. Golden Sword was invincible against those below the super-evolved giant dragon. If someone said that their teacher's strength had not reached that of a super-evolved giant dragon, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. When they thought that their teacher was actually a super-evolved giant dragon, these students were very proud. One had to know that in the entire Cloud Sea Star, there were probably only about 10,000 people who had reached the super-evolved giant dragon level. If they knew that their teacher was not only a super-evolved giant dragon, but also the only level 5 super-evolved giant dragon on the entire planet, who knew how they would feel? Soon, Mo led the 20 students through the entire southern part of the Misty Mountains. They arrived at the ridge of the mountain. Looking from the ridge to both sides, one could see 2 completely different styles. The southern part of the mountain range was full of green vegetation and lush trees. A wide river, like a silver jade belt under the sun, floated into the distance. The northern part was completely shrouded in fog. It was impossible to see what was inside. Even if these students used their evolved dragon senses, they couldn't find out what was going on inside. Only Mo's draconic will could penetrate the mist and see what was inside. One of the students asked, "Instructor, it is said that there are many dragon bandits' lairs in the fog north of the Fog Mountains. Are we still going?" The rest of the students also looked at Mo. The dragon bandits were all outlaws. They didn't care about morals or laws. They only cared about killing dragons to steal their goods and steal their treasures. Mo smiled. "The reason I brought you here today is to suppress the bandits." All the students were stunned. "Instructor, are you sure you're not mistaken? The government has been suppressing it for so many years, but to no avail. Now that you've brought 20 students, you want to suppress the bandits? Wasn't this a little too exaggerated?" Mo laughed. "What? You don't dare." After all, these students were still young and full of vigor. How could they withstand such provocation? Why not? Every one of us can challenge someone 5 levels above us. Golden Sword is invincible below super-evolved dragons. What do we have to be afraid of? Actually, there was an important reason that they didn't mention. With a super-evolved dragon teacher by their side, what were they afraid of? However, just as they thought of this, Mo shattered their fantasy. "Each of you is stronger than those dragon bandits individually. So I won't take part in suppressing the bandits this time. At most, I'll give you some ideas and guide you from the side. As for whether you'll take care of the dragon bandits or the dragon bandits will take you in, it will depend on your skills." The students were all a little nervous, but also a little excited. They had killed many baby star beasts, but they hadn't killed a dragon yet. Immortal said, "Follow closely." As he spoke, he flew forward. The group of students behind him hurriedly followed behind. They could only see about 10 meters from here. Even with their perception, they could only see about 100 meters. If they were not careful, they might lose him. Half an hour later, they arrived at the bottom of a cliff. There was a cave under the cliff. According to Immortal's detection, there were about 40 dragon bandits inside. But he didn't intend to tell the students the exact number. Otherwise, without a rank 10 Long Nian by their side in the future, would they stop suppressing bandits? Immortal said, "The dragon bandits are all valiant and ruthless. They don't follow any rules. We haven't found out how many dragon bandits there are in the cave. You can use 3 to 5 people to lure out some of them. After killing them, immediately retreat. Pay attention to the 2 survivors. Interrogate them separately and see how many dragon bandits there are. If they say the number is about the same, it's true. If the number is wrong, it must be a lie. After killing them, there will definitely be more dragon bandits coming out to investigate. When the time comes, we'll act according to the situation." "Yes." The students spoke one after another. At this moment, the class monitor, Shui Bolan, began to give orders. "Mu Wanqing, Kong Ming, Golden Sword, you 3 go to the entrance of the cave and challenge them. The rest of you lie in ambush. Tucheng, you're the weakest. Hide in the distance. When the battle is about to start, cast an earth element energy shield on each of us. During the battle, see if anyone's shield is broken and immediately mend it. At the same time, pay attention to your own safety. During the battle, no one has time to protect you." The students all agreed. Tucheng looked at Immortal. Immortal transmitted his voice to him. "Do as she says first." Tucheng nodded. Then, he went to find a place to hide more than 50 meters behind. In fact, 50 meters was not a distance at all for a giant dragon. But there was no other way. There was fog everywhere. They had to rely on their perception to distinguish more than 50 meters. If it was any further, even their perception could not see it. As for Immortal, he could not only see it with his dragon consciousness. And his demon dragon's eye could also easily see everything in this fog. So it could be said that everything was under his control. At this moment, the rest of the students were hiding more than 20 meters away. Kong Ming, Golden Sword, and Mu Wanqing went to challenge them. Mu Wanqing was a little timid. She walked at the back. Golden Sword had a metallic sword aura and was very sharp. He took the lead and came to a place only 10 meters away from the stone cave door. He shouted, "The dragon bandits inside, listen up. Come out immediately and die." A moment later, he saw a dragon bandit inside poking his head out. Chapter 601. The dragon bandit poked his head out and looked around. When he saw Jin Jian and the other 2, he was stunned. F***CK, is it so exaggerated to send students to suppress bandits now? The dragon bandit had been in society for many years and was extremely experienced. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that Jin Jian and the other 2 were students. Kong Ming snorted coldly. "So what if you're students? Students will still destroy you." Hearing this, the dragon bandit laughed. "Little brother, you're looking down on us dragon bandits too much. If just a few students can suppress bandits, then we might as well quit our jobs." Kong Ming said, "Cut the crap. Call out all your dragon bandits and let you see if our students can suppress bandits." The dragon bandit probed. Although there was an ambush nearby, there were only a dozen students. He was immediately amused. Which idiot instructor brought the students to train and actually let the students suppress bandits? Can any B-grade instructor do the job now? Then he looked at Immortal, who was not far away. "You should be the instructor, right? Did you pull your brain out when you came out for training?" Immortal could not be bothered with him at all. Whoosh, a ray of metal attribute energy flashed. The dragon bandit was directly cut in half from head to toe. The eyes of the two halves of his corpse were filled with disbelief. Instant kill. Were the students now so terrifying? But it didn't matter. He was still completely dead. After those brothers in the cave rushed out and destroyed these guys, there was still hope for him to be saved. However, just as this thought flashed through his mind, whoosh 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 whoosh, the two halves of the dragon bandit's corpse were all cut into pieces. At this moment, Mu Wanqing saw this and suddenly felt her stomach churn. She couldn't help but squat down and vomit. In the past, she killed star beast cubs. After all, they were different species, so killing them didn't seem to make her feel much. But when she saw the corpse of the dragon bandit, who was also a giant dragon, she suddenly felt serious psychological and physical discomfort. Kong Ming's face was also slightly pale. He turned to look at Jin Jian. This guy was too sharp. Wasn't he disgusted at all? Of course, Jin Jian was disgusted. But at this moment, he focused all his attention on the cave entrance, so the feeling of disgust was not that strong. Although it was his first time killing a giant dragon, he wanted to prove to his mentor that he was not inferior to any giant dragon. When the dragon bandits hiding in the cave saw this, their hearts trembled. Brothers, these students are not to be trifled with. Not to be trifled with, there are only 20 of them. Including their teachers, there are only 21 of them. There are 60 of us. Can't we beat them? Seeing this, the leader of the bandits frowned. He thought to himself, they haven't experienced the beating of society, so they don't know how ruthless the dragon bandits are. Brothers, let's attack together and destroy these bastards. With a shout, more than 60 people immediately rushed out from the edge. However, right after they rushed out, all of them suddenly stopped moving. The space around them seemed to have been sealed. No matter how hard they tried, no matter how much energy they used, they couldn't move at all. They were shocked. Not good, there's a space attribute giant dragon. The golden sword was the first to strike. His entire being seemed to have become one with the sword. In an instant, he attacked the dragon bandits at the very front. Whoosh, the dragon bandit's head exploded. The rest of the dragon bandits' expressions changed. They hurriedly struggled with all their might. These students were still lacking in actual combat experience, so they couldn't seize the opportunity of Kongming's space imprisonment. They were slightly slower, and the dragon bandits broke free. There were too many people here. Kongming's space imprisonment could only imprison them for 3 seconds at most. After these dragon bandits broke free, they all revealed their ferocity. The bandit leader roared angrily, "Kill them!" He could tell that although some of these students were of the space attribute, their levels weren't high. They couldn't imprison them for too long. Moreover, these students didn't cooperate well with each other. In addition, they had 3 times the number of these students. If they still couldn't win, they wouldn't be able to survive. That was why he ordered these brothers to kill these students. These students were indeed lacking in actual combat experience. In addition, they weren't as fierce as the dragon bandits to begin with. The dragon bandits had the aura of desperation, which they couldn't compare to. Therefore, they were at a disadvantage as soon as they started fighting. Whoosh, a student's chest was pierced through. Crack, a student's leg was directly cut off. Puff, at this moment, another student's head flew into the air. Wang Yi pretended not to see this. These students were the top geniuses of their respective families. They were usually doted on by everyone. They had never suffered such a blow before. If they didn't suffer a little now, they might not be able to take it if they had to suffer again when they entered society. Rather than that, it was better to let them suffer now. This way, they would grow faster. Soon, these students all fell to the ground. Even if they had the Earth attribute light shield of Earth City, they couldn't withstand the attacks of so many dragon bandits. When Mo Shi saw that one of the students was about to be beaten to death, he used his telekinesis to save him. Emosher snatched the body and head of the student who had lost his head. He put the body and head together, opened his mouth, and poured a bottle of medicine inside. In just 5 minutes, the student's head was connected. It was intact. This was the healing medicine that Emosher had received after signing in at the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone. If this healing medicine was placed on Earth, an ordinary person would be able to heal any wound instantly after drinking a bottle. It was also because this student had a dragon body that his recovery was so slow. Soon, almost all the students fell to the ground. Emosher shook his head slightly and saved them all. Then, he shouted to Earth City in the distance, "You're here." When the seriously injured students saw this, they all looked at their teacher in surprise. 19 of them attacked at the same time, but they were still beaten up so badly. Their teacher actually let Earth City go up alone? Wouldn't that be an instant kill? When the dragon bandits saw Emosher's methods, they were also slightly afraid of Emosher. But when they saw that Emosher didn't do it himself, but sent a student up, they laughed. One by one, they all laughed. Ha ha ha. So many people can't beat us. Your teacher sent you to your death. You fool, you were deceived by your teacher, and you're still working for him. Sigh, what kind of teachers are they now? They're still calling themselves dragon bandits. They tricked students to their deaths. Alright, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. However, Earth City didn't care about the more than 50 dragon bandits. Go, kill him. The bandit leader roared. The other dragon bandits immediately let out a shout and charged towards the Earthen City. Chapter 602. When Tucheng appeared alone in front of the 60 dragon bandits, all the students were stunned. Tucheng. Instructor, how can you let him deal with so many dragon bandits alone? Instructor, get him to come back. Tucheng, you idiot, come over here. Tucheng had always been the one at the bottom of their class. It had been almost 60 years since he entered the academy. His level had never increased. Because of the limited energy in his body, he could not learn any slightly advanced earth attribute skills. Now there were 19 of them, with all kinds of attributes, but they were still defeated by those dragon bandits. Tucheng, on the other hand, was facing 60 dragon bandits one by one. This was completely suicide. However, Emosher was not moved at all. Tucheng was also not moved. Facing those dragon bandits who were mocking him, he turned around and looked at Emosher. Emosher nodded slightly at him. The next moment, Tucheng roared, "Ah!" When those dragon bandits saw this, they could not help but laugh. That's quite scary, it's okay to scare a little girl. But don't you know who I am? As they said that, those dragon bandits continued to pounce. They were going to chop Tucheng into meat paste. However, at this moment, Tucheng suddenly leaped into the air. At the same time, his body rapidly expanded and changed. His skin began to petrify, and even his eyes began to petrify. His body no longer looked like a human, but like a huge rock. And this huge rock was still growing. In just a moment, it had turned into a mountain 10,000 meters tall, more than 50 kilometers long and wide. When those students saw this, their eyes almost popped out. Tucheng. This, oh my god. Those dragon bandits who had just pounced over also had a drastic change in expression. They had seen dragons that were tens of thousands of meters long, and they had also seen super-evolved dragons that were 100,000 meters long. But this guy could turn into a 100,000-meter tall mountain. They had never seen it before. In shock, they hurriedly wanted to escape. However, it was too late. That mountain fell from the sky. Rumble, 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 the ground shook violently. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Within a radius of hundreds of kilometers, there was an extremely strong tremor. Trees toppled and birds bugled. As for the area within 50 kilometers, there was no movement at all. Because everything was firmly pressed down by this huge mountain. Rumble, rumble, with a thought, Emosure brought the students away from their original spot. It was floating in the sky more than 60 kilometers away. Looking at his eyes, everything was shaking. It was as if someone was constantly running around with a camera in their hand. The tremors lasted for more than 5 minutes. The smoke and dust that filled the air lasted for a full 15 minutes. When a gust of wind blew and the dust settled, the mountain had already disappeared. A figure could be seen slowly emerging from the dust cloud. It was the unremarkable Tucheng. Around him, within a radius of 50 kilometers, the ground had sunk several dozen meters deep. All the trees, rocks, mountains, and rivers inside no longer existed. As for the close to 60 dragon bandits, they had long been crushed into thin pieces of paper. They were like human specimens that had been crushed, sinking deep into the ground. Seeing this scene, except for Tucheng, all the students were dumbfounded. Was this still the guy who ranked last in their eyes? It had been almost 60 years since he entered school. This Tucheng couldn't do anything but eat first. This kind of student was often the most annoying. So there was no one in the class who had a good relationship with him. He had also given up and lost his drive to improve. In everyone's eyes, this guy was just waiting to graduate and leave. But now, the close to 60 dragon bandits that 19 of them couldn't deal with together were killed by him in one move? Wasn't this 2F** king big of a contrast? And it could actually become such a huge mountain. This was really F** king ridiculous. It seemed that not to mention 60 people, even if it was 600 people, 6,000 people, or even 60,000 people, Tucheng could also kill them in one move. It was said that Golden Sword was ignorant below the super-evolved dragon. But looking at Tucheng, he was probably infinitely close to the super-evolved dragon. One must know that he was only a rank 1 evolved dragon. In everyone's shock, Tucheng slowly walked over. Emosure asked with a smile, "How do you feel?" Tucheng, "A little disgusting." With that, he vomited all over the ground. After all, it was his first time killing people, killing dragons. And killing so many at once, it would be strange if he didn't feel disgusted. When he was almost done vomiting, a group of students said one after another, "Tucheng, you're really something. We were all blind before. Is this the power of the planetary body? Didn't you say before that the planetary body needs to be comprehended, and there is only a 1 in 10,000 chance of successfully comprehending it? I can't see that you usually look like a broken jar, but in fact, it's all for us to see. It's only been 2 months, and you've already comprehended it to this extent." This was the first time Tucheng had been praised by his classmates in the past 60 years. He, who had always had a face as thick as a city wall, scratched the back of his head in embarrassment and laughed twice. "It's not that I comprehended quickly, it's that the mentor taught me well." This was the truth. Although he had a planetary body, he wasn't too smart. With his brain, he wouldn't be able to comprehend it even if he was given 8 lifetimes. It was Emosure who put him in the Earth space, so that he could experience hundreds of millions of years in a few seconds. It allowed him to constantly feel the formation of a planet. When he really couldn't comprehend it, Emosure used the omniscience and omnipotence in the Earth space to directly make him comprehend it in an instant. This repeated over and over again, and he was able to reach his current level in more than 2 months. All the students listened and looked at Emosure. They believed that Tucheng's words must have been taught well by Mentor Emo. Without Mentor Emo, Tucheng probably wouldn't have been able to reach 1 in 10,000 of what he had just done in this lifetime. It wasn't just Tucheng. Without the mentor, all of them were still the same as they were 2 months ago. The self-righteous students of Cloud Sea Academy were all complacent. They didn't know what a real fight was, and they didn't know how dangerous the fight with the dragon bandits was. When Mentor Jean Panda left, they were still in a bad mood. They even planned to take over the mentor of their class. Now that they think about it, they were really stupid. If they had really driven Mentor Emo away, it would definitely have been the stupidest thing they had ever done in their lives. Chapter 603. When Tucheng Earth City killed nearly 60 dragon bandits in one move, the students were naturally surprised. Even Tucheng himself was quite surprised by himself. Although he knew that he could transform into a mountain, he never dared to think that he could kill so many dragons in one move. One had to know that those guys were all of a higher level than him. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 levels higher. This made Tucheng's eyes fill with tears. If his parents knew that he could kill so many dragons in one move, he didn't know how excited they would be. But Mo sure wasn't excited at all. If he had to say that there was an emotional change, it would be gratification. The kind of gratification a teacher felt when he saw his student improving. At this moment, the system's sexy voice sounded in Mo Sher's mind. Frowny face dragon slaying. 334500, he was one step closer to advancing to a rank 6 super evolved dragon. He reckoned that after exterminating all the dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, he would be able to level up no matter what. Next, Mo Sher took out some healing potions for the students to apply and consume. The recovery speed of these potions he received from the system was very abnormal. No matter how serious the injuries of the students were, they could recover within 5 minutes. This caused the students to be very surprised. "Teacher, where did you get this healing potion? I'll get my family to buy some too." Mo Sher smiled and shook his head. "It's a secret ancestral recipe, self-made." The class monitor, Shui Bolan, took the bottle and looked at it. He looked up and asked, "Teacher, can I buy some from you? You can name the price." Shui Bolan wasn't short of money. But was Mo Sher short of money? What a joke, he didn't need to spend money on cultivation. The Lei family paid for his food, accommodation, and other expenses. Therefore, he didn't spend much money usually. He shook his head and said, "These potions of mine are all exclusive. I won't sell them for any price. You guys are my students, so I'm letting you use them for free. If it were anyone else, you can recover on your own." Shui Bolan could only shake his head helplessly. "Alright, rest up. When you guys are fully recovered, we'll head to the next dragon bandit's lair." The students didn't have any complaints. Although they had failed to suppress the bandits just now, after that fierce battle, they had experienced the cruelty of real combat. At the same time, they had also learned a lot. They had learned to not hold back when facing their enemies. He had learned that when facing an enemy, he had to put aside all the principles of jianghu, etiquette, justice, integrity, and shame. Only if he could survive would he have the chance to talk about these things. At the same time, they also learned a lot of combat skills. Some of the moves that they thought were cool before were useless in battle. They learned that in a battle of life and death, they should throw away all the fancy tricks. Instead, he used the simplest and most direct movements to greet the opponent's most fatal weakness. They rested for more than half an hour. This half an hour was mainly for the students to recover mentally. His body only needed 5 minutes to recover. However, they had just experienced such a great battle, and it would be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. Mo Sher had given them half an hour of rest, but it was far from enough for them. But that was exactly what Mo Sher wanted. According to him, giving these students half an hour of rest was already more than enough. On a real battlefield, the enemy wouldn't be so nice as to give you half an hour to rest. If it was a large battlefield, the beginning of the battle may take a few hours, or even more than 10 hours. Would the enemy give me time to rest during this period? When Mo Sher was on Earth, he faced hundreds of millions of zombies. Who would give you time to rest in the wild at that time? As soon as you encountered a zombie, you had to fight immediately. And at that time, his recovery ability was far less than the current students. Didn't he survive? After half an hour, most of the students had not recovered mentally. Among all the students, only Golden Sword and Tucheng Earth City looked normal. Golden Sword had always been sharp, and there was nothing wrong with his quick recovery. Tucheng Earth City, on the other hand, didn't participate in any battle at all. Just one move, and the other side was finished. Therefore, He hardly needed any recovery time. It was just that he had just turned into a mountain, which made him a little tired. The body of a planet is different from the general dragon. The body of a planet doesn't care how much energy there is in the body. It's about perception. As long as you perceive it, even if there is no energy in the body, you can turn into a mountain. The body of a planet only needs physical strength. The better the physical strength, the longer the time you can turn into a mountain. Right now, Golden Sword could only last for more than 10 seconds at a time. Therefore, Immortal had given him 2 tasks these days. One was to perceive the body of a planet, and the other was to train his physical strength. And these could be done in an extremely short time in Earth's space. At the same time, Immortal also had a plan. After eliminating the dragon bandits here, he would let these students enter his Earth space for a period of secret training. The reason why he didn't bring them in before was that he wasn't familiar with these students. He didn't know their morals. Now, after a period of understanding, coupled with their admiration for Immortal in their hearts, Immortal was completely at ease with them. The Misty Mountains were very big. With the students' flying speed, it took more than an hour to reach the second dragon bandit lair. When they landed in the dragon bandit lair, the students looked at the cave entrance and were all very surprised. The Misty Mountains were full of fog. The visibility was less than 10 meters. Even if they used the perception ability of a giant dragon, they could only sense a range of 100 meters at most. Perhaps even the dragon bandits who had been living here all their lives would get lost if they flew in the air like them. How did the instructor distinguish the path? Moreover, these dragon bandits had been here for hundreds of years, and the government couldn't do anything to them. They couldn't find the path here either. How did the instructor know where the dragon bandits were? Of course, they didn't know that their instructor wasn't just a powerful super-evolved giant dragon. He was also a level 10 Long Nianshi. In the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, Long Nianshi wasn't as strong as on Earth or the Flaming Land. After all, everyone was a giant dragon. It was very difficult to hurt them with Dragon Will. But Dragon Will was still very useful. Its greatest use was to scout out the situation in the surroundings. On the Flaming Land, the highest was level 10 Long Nianshi. And because Dragon Will didn't add much to battle, very few Long Nianshi would spend the effort to cultivate to level 10. Usually, they would cultivate to level 5 or level 6 or level 7 at most. That was because Dragon Will was harder to cultivate at the later levels. And giant dragons would spend more time on their own leveling up, so they naturally didn't pay much attention to cultivating Dragon Will. Chapter 604. Because there were no dragons to focus on cultivating their Dragon Will, Immortal's level 10 Long Nianshi surprised these students. Next, Immortal let the students analyze the enemy's situation and come up with a corresponding attack plan. Occasionally, he would give some guidance from the side. Half an hour later, these students finished their analysis and discussion, and then began to implement their plan. Another half an hour later, the plan was successfully implemented. Of course, this plan did not include Earth City. Earth City was too strong. If it killed all of them in an instant, what else was there to plan? And in order to train their abilities, they could not let Earth City kill them in an instant. The result was obvious. These students were beaten up by the dragon bandits until they could not take care of themselves. But this time, it was better than last time. This time, they first let Kong Ming do a wave of control, then let the Ice Beauty do another wave of control. Then, the water element Water Ripple did a wave of control. The 3 consecutive waves of crowd control lasted for a total of 10 seconds. The rest of the students took advantage of these 10 seconds to kill 8 dragon bandits. This made Immortal very happy. The most gratifying thing for a teacher was to see the improvement of his students. However, these students killed the 8 dragon bandits, which made the rest of the dragon bandits furious. They crazily took revenge on them. These students were soon beaten to a pulp. At this moment, Mo used the dragon will to pull these students back. At the same time, Earth City moved again. It turned into a mountain and pressed down. All the dragon bandits were instantly destroyed. In Mo's mind, the dragon slaying points increased by more than 50. Dragon slaying points, 388,500. In the next 2 days, they destroyed 6 groups of dragon bandits. The students improved more and more. When they destroyed the 6th dragon bandit group, they were no longer being beaten up one-sidedly. Instead, they were able to fight the dragon bandits to a draw. One had to know that their numbers had always been inferior to the dragon bandits. Moreover, these dragon bandits were all people who licked blood on the blade, desperados. With 1/3 of the dragon bandits' numbers, it was already quite an achievement to be able to fight them to a draw. Mo originally wanted to let the students train for a few more days. Unfortunately, there were only so many dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, and they were all wiped out. Mo could not help but shake his head. Squad leader Shui Bolan asked, "Instructor, why did you shake your head? Is it because we didn't do well enough?" Mo asked, "What do you think?" Shui Bolan thought for a moment and said, "Compared to those students of the same level, we have already done very well." Mo shook his head. "It's too small. I've seen someone who, at your level, was already invincible against anyone below the super-evolved colossal dragon." Shui Bolan shook her head. "What's so strange about that? Isn't the golden sword also able to do the same?" Mo smiled. "Jin Jian is good at one-on-one fights, but the person I know is good at one-on-one fights. 1 against 100, 1 against 1,000, they're still ignorant of those below the super-evolved colossal dragon." Shui Bolan shrugged his shoulders. "That's not surprising, Tucheng Earth City can do 1 against 1,000. Mo shook his head again. "Tucheng Earth City needs someone to cooperate and control the enemy within the range of his big move to show great lethality. And the person I know doesn't need the cooperation of others at all. Shuttling through thousands of troops, he can also stroll leisurely." Mu Wanqing lowered her head and asked in a low voice, "Instructor, the person you're talking about, is yourself?" Mo smiled but did not answer. The students were all curious. Their tutor was able to train them to such an extent in just 2 months. Their instructor's strength must be extraordinary. It was very likely that he was a super-evolved colossal dragon. But as for how strong their instructor was, they had never seen it. "Instructor, your realm should be a super-evolved colossal dragon, right? Is it rank 1 or rank 2? Tucheng Earth City asked. Mo still smiled and did not answer. "If there's a chance in the future, you may see it." Seeing that Mo did not answer their questions, the students could only give up. But in private, they guessed that Mo was very likely a rank 1 super-evolved colossal dragon. There were only about 10,000 rank 1 super-evolved colossal dragons in the entire Cloud Sea Star. With such a person as their instructor, their ancestors' graves would probably be smoking. Of course, there were also people who guessed that he was a rank 2 super-evolved colossal dragon. There were only 5 or 6,000 of them in the entire Cloud Sea Star. If their instructor was really rank 2, their ancestors' graves would probably be on fire. As for rank 3 or 4, they did not even dare to think about it. There were only a few hundred rank 3 super-evolved colossal dragons in the Cloud Sea Star. There were only 70 or 80 rank 4 ones. Each of them was a big shot. How could they come to the Cloud Sea Academy to teach students? What they did not know was that when they killed those dragon bandits, Mo had already advanced to a rank 6 super-evolved colossal dragon. A rank 6 super-evolved colossal dragon was a unique existence in the entire Cloud Sea Star. Even the Star Lord of the Cloud Sea Star was only a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. In the entire star field, only those who reached rank 5 and above could become Star Lords. In other words, Mo's strength now did not lose to any Star Lord. Even if his level was lower than theirs, with Mo's ability to challenge those of a higher level, he could fight them head-on. So on any planet, he could walk sideways, vertically, or diagonally. He could walk however he wanted. At this moment, Emosure looked at the dragon-slaying points in his mind. Frowny face dragon-slaying points, 1121000, it would be difficult for him to level up again in the short term. Unless Emosure went on a killing spree and slaughtered all the colossal dragons on the planet. In that case, he could quickly become an ancient colossal dragon. But he did not know much about the star field. Who knew if there were some hidden big shots that could kill him with one slap? So now, Emosure still adhered to one principle: develop wretchedly and don't be reckless. If he wanted to be reckless, he would nurture these students and let them go out and do whatever they wanted. Since there were no more dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, Emosure planned to bring these students back to the academy to take the final exam. But they had just flown for more than 1,000 kilometers when Emosure suddenly stopped. The students also stopped. Emosure turned to the right and said, "All of you, step back." The students knew that when they encountered something stronger than them, the teachers would usually let them deal with it themselves. Now that the teacher was telling them to step back, it meant that this thing was far from what they could deal with. Soon, they sensed that thing. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Because within their range of perception, they could not see the full appearance of that thing at all. This was enough to show that the thing was huge. Some students hurriedly turned on their multifunctional watches and opened the Star Beast Cub level test software. Soon, the test results were out. And in the past, the test results only showed the level. This time, the screen kept flashing with a red light and a warning sound. Warning, you have encountered a 250-year-old Star Beast Cub. It is equivalent to a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. Please avoid it as soon as possible, please avoid it as soon as possible. Hearing this, all the students were stunned. 250-year-old Star Beast Cub. Equivalent to a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. An existence on the same level as a Star Master. Chapter 605. All 20 students were dumbfounded when they saw the feedback on their multifunctional watches. A 250-year-old Star Beast Cub. It was equivalent to a level 5 super-evolved giant dragon. Even if all 20 of them transformed into giant dragons, they would not be able to defeat this Star Beast Cub. Even Earth City, which had a planetary body, was nothing in front of this Star Beast Cub. It could slap him back to his original form with just a tail. All the students looked at Emosure involuntarily. They thought that even the instructor would not be able to do anything in front of this Star Beast Cub. After all, the Star Beast Cub was equivalent to a level 5 super-evolved giant dragon. No matter how strong the instructor was, he was only a level 2 super-evolved giant dragon. There was a difference of 3 levels. How could they fight? Also, they could not turn around and run when they encountered a Star Beast Cub. Because if they ran, it would be equivalent to showing weakness. The Star Beast Cub would chase after them like a dog. Then it would be over. They had never encountered such a situation before. No matter how strong the Star Beast Cub they encountered before was, there was always an instructor behind them. They did not need to panic at all. But this time, they were really panicking. However, when they looked at Emosure, they only saw Emosure say to them indifferently, "Don't worry. Wait here." The next moment, they flew toward the Star Beast Cub. They did not even have time to shout. Soon, the instructor had already flown out of their perception range. They could only hear a huge sound coming from that direction, as if a meteorite had fallen to the ground. Then, there was a huge shockwave that caused the thick fog to tumble. They were also sent flying for about 5 kilometers by this huge shockwave. The next moment, everyone's expression changed drastically. Because in their perception, the Star Beast Cub was flying toward them. Everyone hurriedly scattered in all directions. The next moment, a Star Beast Cub that was more than 10 kilometers long and shaped like a giant kun streaked across the thick fog in front of them. Just looking at this giant kun made everyone's hair stand on end. In front of this giant kun, they seemed so small. Even if they transformed into giant dragons that were thousands of meters long, they were not worth mentioning at all in front of this giant kun. However, this giant kun flew past them for a few seconds before it started to fall rapidly. Finally, it crashed to the ground. The mountain below collapsed with a loud bang. The forest below the mountain was crushed by the huge rocks and the giant leviathan's body, making cracking noises. All the students' faces were filled with shock. More than 10 seconds later, the giant leviathan below remained motionless. Only then did they realize that the giant leviathan wasn't flying towards them. Instead, he was smashed by a huge force. It was as if an invisible giant hand had strangled the giant kun and thrown it over. Moreover, the giant leviathan's entire body had been sealed in ice. When it landed on the ground, ice shards scattered everywhere. Just as they were all trembling in fear, the teacher's figure appeared in the thick fog in front of them. The teacher glanced at them and said, "Let's go." Then, he turned around and flew forward. All the students suddenly realized something at this moment. All of them looked at their teacher in disbelief. Wait, this was an instant kill. Teacher actually killed a giant leviathan in seconds? A giant leviathan equivalent to a Tier 5 super-evolved colossal dragon? Good heavens! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He was so shocked that he couldn't react for a long time. That meant that the teacher was at least a Tier 6 super-evolved colossal dragon. After reaching the level of a super-evolved colossal dragon, the gap between each tier was huge. Therefore, a Tier 6 super-evolved colossal dragon could easily kill a creature equivalent to a Tier 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. Hiss, teacher, he's a Tier 6. Oh my god, what did this mean? It meant that the teacher's strength was even stronger than the Star Lord. It meant that on the entire Cloud Sea star, the teacher was undoubtedly the ceiling of combat strength. It meant that as long as the teacher was willing, he could completely take over the ruling rights of a planet. Why aren't you leaving? Are you going to stay here and feed the giant leviathan? Mo Shi's voice came from the thick fog in front of them. This pulled all the students back to reality. Then, they were all extremely excited. They hurriedly followed the teacher's figure. With such a teacher, they didn't know how many good deeds they had done in their previous lives and how much merit they had accumulated. If their relatives and friends knew about this, they would be shocked. Imagining the shocked expressions on their relatives' and friends' faces, they felt a burst of joy in their hearts. However, the teacher seemed to have seen through their thoughts. Don't mention what happened today to anyone, including your parents and friends. As your teacher, I'm used to keeping a low profile and don't want to be disturbed by outsiders. If you mention it, don't blame me for kicking you out of Year 6 Class 3. At the end, Mo Shi's voice revealed a trace of sternness. At the same time, Long Wei instantly spread out. In the hearts of all the students, a sense of competition that seemed to come from their bones suddenly rose up. Then, they secretly made up their minds to not reveal a single word to anyone. Because the teacher had never been so strict before. If they were to reveal it, with the long way that the teacher displayed, they were afraid that he might really kill them. A teacher killing a student was originally a big deal. But the teacher was an existence that surpassed the Star Lord, so it was a different story. Even the Star Lord couldn't do anything to him, so who would dare to punish him? And they weren't stupid. To be able to follow such a teacher as a student was something that they had cultivated for 8 lifetimes. How could they ruin this opportunity so easily? That afternoon, they returned to the academy. Along the way, the students were very respectful to Mo Shi and were no longer as casual as before. Even if Mo Shi was more easygoing and even joked with them, they didn't dare to be as casual as before. When they returned to the academy and walked on the tree-lined path in the academy, the students who passed by all covered their mouths and snickered. The students of Class 6 Class 3 naturally knew what they were laughing about. They were laughing at the students of Class 6 Class 3 for being in such a sorry state. Many of their clothes were like beggars, and their hair was dirty and messy. They didn't look like students, but like they had escaped from somewhere. Even some of the teachers were a little surprised when they saw the students of Class 6 Class 3 like this. "Teacher Mo, your class is..." Mo sure waved his hand and said, "Let them go to the slums to experience life. Otherwise, if they think that they are students of Cloud C Academy, they will always be high and mighty and not down to earth. I'm afraid it will hurt a lot." Those teachers all gave Mo sure a thumbs up. Teacher Mo is so thoughtful. Next semester, let our students experience life. When the students of those classes heard this, their faces immediately darkened. As for the students of Class 6 Class 3, although their appearance was sloppy, they were all very proud and arrogant at this moment. When the final exam was in a few days, their Class 6 Class 3 would definitely surprise everyone. Chapter 606. The dean summoned all the teachers for a meeting. When the other teachers arrived, the dean only nodded to them as a greeting. However, when Mo sure arrived, the dean stood up and welcomed him. He said warmly, "Teacher Mo is here. Come and sit." This made the other teachers feel strange. The dean had always been very calm. Even in the face of a landslide, his expression would not change. Why was he so enthusiastic when he saw Teacher Mo today? Of course, they did not know that the dean had guessed that Mo sure was a super-evolved dragon. As for Mo sure, who was also a super-evolved dragon, the dean naturally had a higher opinion of him than the other teachers. After all the other teachers had arrived, the dean started the meeting. The content of the meeting was about the final exam. "We have chosen to hold the final exam on the nearby Cloud Ridge planet." Cloud Ridge planet was a satellite of Cloud C planet. It was similar to the relationship between Earth and the Moon. Cloud Ridge planet was not big, and it had not been developed before. It was completely untouched. The entire surface of Cloud Ridge planet was covered by plants. There were hundreds of millions of star beast cubs on Cloud Ridge planet. Occasionally, some schools would hold tests or exams here. The dean said, "For this final exam, every student in every class will enter Cloud Ridge planet to hunt star beast cubs. In the end, we will choose the 20 students with the highest level and the highest number of star beast cubs to participate in the 100-star competition during the summer break." The so-called 100-star competition was a competition where each planet would send out 20 of their strongest students to participate in the competition. It was held every 4 years. It was the most important competition for these planets. Logically speaking, the schools of Cloud C planet should compete to choose the 20 most outstanding students. However, the Ocean of Clouds Academy had the ability to monopolize all 20 of them. Because according to the experience of previous years, the 20 spots would be taken by Cloud C Academy in the end. Therefore, after some discussion, they decided that there was no need to go through so much trouble to hold the internal competition of Cloud C planet. That would be a waste of time and dragon power. It was better to just give all the spots to Cloud C Academy. The dean continued to speak and finally asked all 42 teachers, "Does anyone have any opinions or suggestions? Feel free to voice them out." The teachers all shook their heads. The dean smiled and asked Mo sure, "Teacher Mo, do you have anything to say?" All the instructors were shocked once again. It seemed like the dean valued Instructor Mo a lot. What kind of background did he have? They didn't believe that Instructor Mo was that strong. To be valued by the dean, one had to be at least at the super-evolved dragon level. Could this Instructor Mo be a super-evolved dragon? What a joke. Mo sure smiled and replied, "That's right. I think that if it's fair, all 20 slots will be given to us. That way, we won't have to waste time fighting for a spot." As soon as this was said, there was a moment of silence. Wasn't Instructor Mo too arrogant? Even if the dean thinks highly of you, you don't have to be so arrogant. Did he have any respect for the other instructors? This was especially true for the mentors of the graduating classes. They were all enraged. "Instructor Mo, don't you think you're exaggerating? Instructor Mo, how long have you been here? You don't know the strength of the other classes. We don't blame you. But by saying such big words, you are not giving face to the other teachers of the other classes. Especially the teacher of Year 1 Class 0, Yu Yenran, who had a fiery temper. She slammed the table and stood up. Instructor Mo, don't think that just because you're leading a graduating class, the students in your class are stronger than the first years. Lei Ren from our class is strong enough to kill anyone in your class. Hee hee, Mo sure laughed. He sensed Lei Ren passing by the conference room. He immediately shouted, Lei Ren, come in. The conference room door was pushed open, and Lei Ren walked in. When all the instructors saw Lei Ren, they couldn't help but size him up carefully. Yu Yenran had always been high profile. Such a genius from their class could actually challenge someone who was 5 ranks higher than him in the first year. Yu Yenran naturally wanted to publicize this matter. So much so that the entire academy already knew about Lei Ren. It wouldn't be a problem for this guy to challenge those 6th years. A mentor said, among the 20 spots, at least one of them should be Lei Ren. Yeah, he's the only one in our academy who can challenge opponents who are 5 ranks higher. I think that if it's really fair, Lei Ren should be the one who gets a spot without having to compete. Recently, there had been news about the final exam. Lei Ren had also heard some of it. Now that he heard these mentors say this and saw that they seemed to be targeting Mo sure, he shook his head. No, no, no. You guys think too highly of me. Instructor Mo's students are far from what I can compare to. I think the top 20 should all be in Instructor Mo's class. Just give it to them directly and save time. The other mentors were stunned when they heard this. Especially Yu Yenran, who was dumbfounded. Lei Ren was usually very arrogant in the class. Not only in the class, even in the entire academy, he wasn't afraid of the 6th years at all. After all, his strength was there. Many 6th years had to take a detour when they saw him. Why was he so afraid when he saw Mo sure? Yu Yenran slapped Lei Ren. Why are you so cowardly? How is this the usual you? Lei Ren laughed dryly and said, actually, my abilities were all taught by Instructor Mo before I entered the academy. Without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. I was just a good-for-nothing playboy before, and he could teach me like this. Most of the students in the 3rd class are geniuses. Instructor Mo has taught them for so long. Their strength must have improved by leaps and bounds. So I'm not a coward. I know my own name. By the way, Dean, can I transfer directly to Instructor Mo's class? As soon as this remark came out, everyone present looked at each other. Lei Ren was also taught by Instructor Mo. The Dean and Yu Yenran had already known this. Yu Yenran snorted coldly. Lei Ren, you little traitor. Don't say that you are a student of our class in the future. Lei Ren was not afraid of Yu Yenran at all. Instead, he said directly to the Dean, Dean, you see, Instructor Yu doesn't want me anymore. I'm homeless. Please be merciful and let me transfer directly to the 3rd class of the 6th year. Yu Yenran was so angry that she gritted her teeth. The Dean also shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although your strength is good, you still lack various theoretical knowledge. You have to start learning from the 1st grade. And don't you live with Instructor Mo? You can learn from him after school in the afternoon. Chapter 607. Mo sure said arrogantly in the meeting room that they should be given to class 6-3. Of course, the dean couldn't really give them to class 6-3. The participants had to be selected through the academy's final exam. Following that, every class in the academy entered a state of intense preparation. Especially the 6th grade. They had studied for nearly 60 years and had experienced all kinds of theoretical knowledge and practice many times. In addition, their average level was the highest among all the grades, so theoretically, they had the highest chance of getting a place. Therefore, their preparation work was even more intense. Their homeroom teacher basically spent the rest of his time in class these few days, other than eating and sleeping time. He told the students what to pay attention to, explained the knowledge of all kinds of star beast cubs, and explained all kinds of high-end combat techniques. The busiest classes were Class 6-1 and Class 6-2. Class 6-1 was an elite class, and Class 6-2 was not far behind. In the final exam every year, the results of these two classes were in the top 3. The teachers of these two classes were far more serious and responsible than the teachers of the other classes. They couldn't wait to eat and live with the students. In the entire academy, there was only one class. There was not the slightest bit of tension before the exam. Mosher still walked around the classroom every day and let the students prepare for the exam. When he had nothing to do, he would stay in the library and read electronic books to understand everything about the 10,000 Dragon Star region. When it was time, he would get off work on time and not stay for a minute longer. Every time at 5 p.m., after he got off work and left, the other homeroom teachers would always show a trace of disdain. This kind of teacher did not have a trace of seriousness and responsibility. When teacher Jean Pontu was here, Class 6-3 was always first in the grade. In terms of results, discipline, and other aspects, no one could find any fault with them. But now, Teacher Mo. It was said that other than allowing the students to rise by one level, he was practically useless in other aspects. He couldn't teach theoretical knowledge, and he didn't know about the various skills. He came to the academy as a complete loser. He even said that all the spots should be given to his class. What a joke. If they were given to his class, it would be the biggest joke. Just like that, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 3 days later, more than 800 students in the academy boarded a giant ship that was more than 10,000 meters long and flew to Cloud Billow Star. The other academies didn't have such a giant ship. In the entire Cloud Sea Star, only the Cloud Sea Academy had a single one. Even though it was a 10,000-meter-long giant ship, it was still extremely fast. In just over half an hour, they arrived at the Cloud Ridge Star. The captain chose a slightly flatter place and stopped. Then, he set up a protective shield within a radius of 50 kilometers. In this way, the area within a radius of 50 kilometers around the giant ship was an absolute safe zone. Everyone can rest and exercise here. However, for these students, there was no opportunity to move at all. As soon as the giant ship landed, it meant that the examination had begun. They had to make the best use of their time and kill as many star beasts as possible within 3 days. Every student was equipped with a tracking device and a camera. If they were in danger, the academy's instructors could quickly rush to their location. Every teacher returned to their own rooms and watched their students in front of the monitor. At the same time, there was a huge screen in the control room. On it were real-time images taken by the cameras carried by all the students. If any student was in danger, the computer would immediately analyze it and then magnify the image of the student in danger and display it. Mosher scanned with his dragon's will. Within a radius of 1,000 kilometers, there weren't any strong star beasts. The strongest one was only 170 years old, which was equivalent to a rank 7 evolved giant dragon. For his students, any one of them could take on these star beasts alone. Only Tuchen was able to do so because Mosher had been teaching him how to comprehend the formation of a planet and hadn't taught him any skills. However, he was able to use Mount Tai's crushing down every time. Therefore, he seemed to be in a sorry state. When he encountered a star beast cub, he would often fight it with his bare hands. Moreover, he didn't use any moves or skills. It was completely a tortoise's fist. However, because he had a planet body, he was extremely strong. When facing a star beast cub that was 3 or 5 levels higher than him, he only needed one punch to knock it to the ground. As the screen was divided into 800 small panels, it displayed the images of 800 students. Therefore, the dean and the others hadn't noticed this yet. At this moment, Mosher didn't pay attention to this. Instead, he carried a pot of tea and went to the top of the giant ship. He sat on the deck, enjoying the breeze, drinking tea, and admiring the scenery of Cloud Ridge Planet. The biggest characteristic of this place was one word: green. Looking around, the entire surface was covered in green plants. The air was naturally fresh. If there weren't outsiders, he would have let them out to enjoy the beautiful scenery together. At the same time, in the main control room, after the dean and the leaders of the academies confirmed that everything was on track, they said, "Show me the images of the students of class 6 to 3. Others didn't know, but he knew. Instructor Mo of class 6 to 3 was a super-evolved giant dragon. Since he dared to say that all the slots should belong to class 6 to 3, there must be something special about him. Soon, the 20 students of class 6 to 3 were magnified and displayed on the big screen. When all the instructors saw the students of class 6 to 3 on the big screen, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. The golden sword was an extremely sharp energy sword. Wherever it passed, it was basically insta-killed. A 110-year star beast cub, insta-killed. A 150-year star beast cub, insta-killed. A 170-year star beast cub, insta-killed. It wasn't just the golden sword. The other students might not be able to insta-kill them, but it was very easy for them to deal with these star beast cubs. All kinds of moves and skills emerged one after another. It was dazzling. Moreover, the recruitment of these students basically didn't have any fancy moves. They were usually the simplest and most practical. Compared to the students of class 6 to 3, the other students were like a group of babies who had just learned to walk. In class 6 to 3, the only student who looked to be in a sorry state was Earth City. However, the instructors didn't have much hope for him. He was famous for being at the bottom of the rankings in the academy. Since the first year, he hadn't advanced by one rank and hadn't learned a skill of the corresponding rank. However, just as they casually scanned the image of Earth City, their gazes froze. The casual expressions on their faces turned into extreme shock. Chapter 608. When the mentor's eyes casually scanned through the image of Earth City, they were all suddenly nailed to the frame of Earth City. The dean's eyes were also fixed on the image of Earth City. Then he hurriedly said, "Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in on this student." Soon, the image of Earth City appeared in the center of the screen, completely covering the other images. On the screen, Earth City was in a sorry state. There were no skills or energy weapons. When a pangolin rampaged, breaking dozens of giant trees and pouncing towards him, Chu Feng was stunned. He looked left and right, but couldn't find any place to hide. Left with no other choice, he could only awkwardly leap high into the air. When the pangolin beast came under him, he directly used his fist to smash the pangolin beast's head that was as big as a small mountain. Bang! The pangolin's huge head was suddenly smashed to the ground. Boom! The ground below had sunk more than 10 meters deep. It formed a huge pit with a radius of about 5 kilometers. At the same time, poof! The pangolin's head directly exploded. Blood splattered everywhere. The entire huge pit was suddenly covered with thick and sticky flesh and brain matter. All the mentors who saw this scene were so shocked that they couldn't say a word for a long time. Until a moment later, a mentor opened his mouth and said, "This is too strong. Just relying on physical strength, he can kill a pangolin that is 5 levels higher. This guy is too strong. The pangolin's body is very hard, it can often easily smash through a mountain. Its head is also very hard. Often many evolved giant dragons use energy weapons to form weapons, but it is difficult to penetrate the scales on its head. But this Earth City blew it up with one punch. TSK, this guy is really too shocking." At this time, Earth City in the image jumped out of the huge pit of flesh and blood. His whole body was blood red. Maybe it was the smell of blood that attracted other star beast cubs. Soon, another hammerhead beast ran over. This was also a strength type and defense type star beast cub. Earth City seemed to be chased to the point where he couldn't hide. And because the hammerhead beast was too fast, he didn't even have the chance to jump up this time. He could only turn back, bite the bullet, and extend his right fist. With his bare fists, he directly collided with the hammerhead beast's huge head. The hammerhead beast's head was about 100 meters tall and 500 meters wide. With his human body, it looked like a mosquito trying to hold up the head of an elephant. However, under such circumstances, the hammerhead beast was blasted more than 10 kilometers away by his attack. After landing on the ground, his head, which was almost invulnerable, actually cracked inch by inch. In the next moment, it exploded. One had to know that this hammerhead beast had reached 170 years of age, which was equivalent to a rank 7 giant dragon. In other words, Tuching Earth City crossed the 6th order punch and killed the hammerhead beast. This was simply too shocking. Apart from the dean, all the other instructors present were filled with shock. None of these instructors could defeat an enemy that was 6 levels higher than them. It was impossible for him to even take a single blow head-on, let alone kill him with a single blow. Next, they saw that in just half an hour, this guy basically circled one small beast at a time. It was simply unstoppable. It's hard to imagine how Tuching Earth City can become so strong. Previously, he had always been at the bottom of the 6th years. Now, he is like the first echelon of the 6th years. He, Golden Sword, Kong Ming, and the others are the top of the 6th years. Yes, I think so. Actually, they did not know that Tuching Earth City was not in the first echelon. Instead, he was the strongest existence among all the 6th years. An existence that could instantly kill hundreds of dragon bandits. Obviously, Tuching Earth City only changed like this after Instructor Mo took over. In the past 50 years, he has never displayed such strength. His strength has not changed at all for more than 50 years. Instructor Mo has only taken over for half a semester, and he has gone from the bottom of the entire academy to the first echelon in one fell swoop. This is simply inconceivable. Not only him, all the other students in class 63 are ridiculously strong. They are more than 10 times stronger than when Instructor Jean was leading them. Everyone can fight 2 or 3 levels higher or even 3 or 4 levels higher. It's simply terrifying. Now I'm beginning to believe what Instructor Mo said before. At this moment, what the dean was thinking about was the planetary body that Mo sure had mentioned before. He naturally knew about the planetary body. The planetary body was very strong, but it required time to comprehend. But it took too much time to comprehend. Often, dragons with planetary bodies would die of old age before they could comprehend anything. Only 1 in 10,000 could truly achieve a planetary body. That would require thousands or even tens of thousands of years to comprehend. But after Mo Sure took over class 63, it had only been 3 months, and Tuching Earth City had already reached such a powerful level of strength. How did he do it? After the dean heard Mo Sure say that Tuching Earth City was a planetary body, he was thinking about how to provide better conditions for Tuching Earth City and how to think of a better way for him to comprehend. But in the past 3 months, he could not think of any substantial help. But he did not expect that in just 3 months, Mo Sure would help Tuching Earth City become so powerful. From the looks of it, he was probably invincible below the super-evolved dragon. This made him even more surprised by Mo Sure. How did he do it? He used his perception to investigate. At this moment, Mo Sure was leisurely drinking tea on the deck. The other instructors were in their respective rooms, nervously staring at the screen. Comparing the two, it was obvious who was better. Soon, it was the second day. The instructors of the academy all came to the main control room early the next morning. Because they wanted to see the results of the other students. Especially the instructors of class 61 and class 62, their hearts were filled with excitement, and their footsteps were exceptionally light. The results of the students in their 2 classes were very outstanding. Basically, every student had killed at least 10 star beast cubs. According to the historical exam results, being able to kill so many star beast cubs on the first day was already very good. However, when they came to the central control room, they saw that the big screen did not show the other students. Only 20 students were shown. They were all students of class 63. Tucheng Earth City, 57, Golden Sword, 55, Ice Beauty, 53, Shui Bo Lan, 49, Mu Wanqing, 48, Kong Ming, 48, the student with the least number had reached 39. The best student had 15 more than the students in their two classes. This caused the two instructors of class 61 and class 62 to be stunned. At this moment, the conversation of a few leaders could be heard. They killed too quickly. There were not many star beast cubs around for them to kill, so they could only look around. That's right. They wasted all their time on traveling and searching for star beast cubs. Otherwise, I'm afraid that each of them would have killed over 100 star beasts today. The two instructors of class 61 and class 62 were petrified. Chapter 609. When the teacher in charge of class 6-1 and class 6-2 heard the words of the leaders, they were petrified. Class 6-3 was too much of a beast, right? How could their combat power be so strong? Could it be that they were only killing low-level star beasts? Thinking of this, there was still a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Then, they continued to walk inside. When they came to the front of the big screen and saw the performance of the students on the screen, the two of them were petrified again. On the big screen, most of the students in class 6-3 were on their way to find star beast cubs. There were only 4 of them. One of them was Golden Sword, and the other was Tucheng. Golden Sword condensed a golden sword aura in his right hand and instantly swept past the side of a 170-year-old star beast cub. Hiss, the star beast cub's head was directly cut in half. It was killed on the spot. Tucheng was even more direct. Facing a 150-year-old star beast cub, he actually used his fist to fight against the star beast cub's teeth. When the star beast cub opened its huge mouth and bit down on him, he punched out. Crack, the star beast cub's sharp teeth were directly broken. At the same time, this punch also exploded the star beast cub's entire head. Hiss, when the teacher in charge of class 6-1 and class 6-2 saw this, both of them gasped in shock. Most of the students in their two classes would probably take a detour when facing a 150-year-old star beast cub. Even if there was someone who could defeat a 150-year-old star beast cub, it would take a while. Who would be like this guy, exploding it with one punch? He was simply an animal. The dean next to them was still smiling and asking, "Teachers, what do you think of this guy?" The teacher in charge of class 6-1 and class 6-2 looked at each other and could only smile awkwardly. Very strong. To be able to kill a 150-year-old star beast cub with his bare hands, he is indeed very strong. The dean laughed out loud. You didn't see the scene of him killing a 170-year-old star beast cub with one punch. The two teachers were petrified on the spot for the third time. In their two classes, none of them could kill a 170-year-old star beast cub. This guy killed it with one punch? Is this for real? At this moment, the dean gave them another heavy blow. Oh, it's not just him. That golden sword, Shui Bo Lan, and Ice Beauty basically killed all the 170-year-old star beasts they encountered. The two instructors were numb. You look at me, I look at you. Finally, they looked at the dean at the same time. Then, what about the others? The president shook his head. Only then did the two instructors' expressions look a little better. The headmaster continued, the others haven't encountered a 170-year-old astral beast cub yet. We only saw them instantly kill a 160-year-old star beast cub. Poof, poof, invisibly, 2 sounds of blood spurting could be heard. If he could instantly kill a 170-year-old, then even if he couldn't instantly kill a 160-year-old, it shouldn't be a problem. This completely destroyed their last bit of hope. That instructor Mo, how exactly does he teach his students? the instructor of class 6 to 1 said subconsciously. The dean said, I really don't know about that. But take a look at Lei Ren from class 0. As the dean spoke, he asked the instructor beside him to bring up Lei Ren's image. Lei Renjing encountered a 160-year-old star beast cub. His right arm transformed into a dragon claw with lightning coiling around its tip. In the next moment, he passed by the 160-year-old star beast cub. Rip! The 200-meter-long body of the 160-year-old astral beast cub was instantly torn in half. There wasn't even a trace of self-recovery. When the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 saw this, they revealed looks of admiration. Lei Ren is a genius. It's not surprising that he can kill a level 160 astral beast cub. The dean smiled. Lei Ren was also taught by instructor Imo. When the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 heard this, their eyes dimmed. The dean continued, and according to my understanding, before Lei Ren came to our academy, although he was taught in our academy, but in reality, he wasn't very strong. He was known as the #1 spoiled brat within 1,000 kilometers. You can imagine how weak his combat strength is. Later, when school started, he took a half-semester leave. In fact, it was instructor Imo who brought him to special training. After the special training, Lei Ren reached the point where he could fight someone 5 grades above him. Also, according to instructor Yu, this isn't Lei Ren's full strength. If Lei Ren used his full strength, he might be able to reach the level of a super-evolved dragon. When they heard the dean's words, it wasn't just the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2. All the higher-ups of the academy sucked in a breath of cold air. In other words, a level 2 evolved dragon could defeat a level 10 evolved dragon? Other than the dean, all the instructors weren't as strong as Lei Ren. How did instructor Imo teach his students? This was simply like turning stone into gold. Moreover, to be able to bring Earth City, the last place, to such a state, was completely turning something rotten into something miraculous. This was simply too inconceivable. Actually, they didn't know that with Lei Ren's current strength, it was impossible for him to defeat a level 10 evolved dragon. That was just an exaggeration that had been passed around. Lei Ren's true strength was only able to fight someone 5 grades above him. If he could truly master the second transformation of the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations, then he would truly be invincible under the super-evolved dragon. However, these instructors were already shocked. Dean, after instructor Jean left, we randomly found someone to replace him. I didn't expect to find a god-level instructor. The dean also sighed. I didn't expect it either. As he spoke, his consciousness probed out again. He found that Imo had actually fallen asleep while leaning against the back of the chair. And his shiny saliva was flowing down. What kind of dragon was this? Originally, if it continued like this, there would be no problem for class 6 to 3 to take the top 20 places. But on the last day of the exam, there was still a problem. On the big screen, a student from class 5 to 5 who was hunting star beasts suddenly disappeared. The screen was filled with snowflakes. The tracker also failed. Their instructors hurriedly chased him to the location where he disappeared, but they couldn't find any clues. Then, a student from class 5 to 2 also disappeared. Then class 6 to 1. Seeing this, the dean hurriedly ordered the instructors to order the students to withdraw immediately. However, after their orders were issued, they didn't receive any response. Then, all the screens turned into snowflakes. All the students couldn't be contacted. Those instructors hurriedly searched everywhere. In the end, only 630 of the 800 students were found. There were still 170 students who were completely uncontactable. This included the 20 people from class 6 to 3. The atmosphere in the entire academy suddenly became tense. After the dean counted all the students with a calm face, he found that the other classes had lost contact with a few students. And class 6 to 3 had lost contact with the entire class. This caused everyone to be extremely surprised. Chapter 610. There were 170 students missing in the entire academy. But the missing students from the other classes seemed to be random. There was no pattern. 3 or 4, 4 or 5, or 7 or 8 students from each class were missing. Only the students from class 6 to 3 were missing. This caused all the instructors to scratch their heads in confusion. The dean hurriedly sent out dozens of aircrafts and hundreds of drones to search the area with the missing students as the center. At the same time, the dean thought of Immortal and hurried over to ask for Immortal's opinion. Immortal said, "It seems that a spatial dragon took them all away. Could there be dragon bandits hiding in this forest?" The dean asked. Immortal nodded. "Judging from the situation just now, it is indeed possible. And they dared to kidnap those students in front of so many instructors. I think these dragon bandits are not ordinary." The dean was furious. "If they dare to hurt my students, I will destroy all of them." Then the dean thought of something and asked Immortal, "Why were only a few students from the other classes taken away, but your entire class 6 to 3 class was taken away?" Immortal smiled. "These little brats were willing." "What? Willing?" The dean was puzzled. Ordinary students couldn't escape even if they wanted to, but the students of class 6 to 3 were willing to be taken away. Immortal replied, "Yes, when they were about to kidnap 3 of the students, Kongming used his spatial ability to take the rest of the students and chase after them." "What should we do?" The dean's face was full of anxiety. Even if he was a super-evolved dragon, if something happened to so many students, he couldn't escape the blame. Immortal waved his hand, "Dean, don't be impatient. Those dragon bandits took my students away. They should be the ones who should be afraid." The dean understood what Immortal meant. The students of class 6 to 3 were powerful, and those dragon bandits might not be able to defeat them. But they were still students after all, and had never experienced any fighting. How could they be a match for those ruthless dragon bandits? Even so, we still have to find them as soon as possible. The dean said. Immortal smiled. "Don't worry, they will be back soon." Immortal's confidence was, of course, well-founded. If the dragon bandits had not taken away everyone in class 6 to 3, Immortal might have been a little worried. However, after snatching away everyone from class 6 to 3, Immortal wasn't worried at all. The students of class 6 to 3 had fought the dragon bandits with real swords and spears. After training in the Misty Mountains, they were already familiar with the methods of the dragon bandits and how ruthless they were. And their attacks on the dragon bandits were absolutely ruthless. Especially Earth City, one person could destroy hundreds and thousands of dragon bandits. Therefore, there was nothing to worry about. However, even though Immortal said so, the dean didn't dare to do nothing. He continued to expand the search area, searching for traces of the students. However, there was no news at all. This made all the students and instructors in the academy extremely anxious. At the same time, in a place with picturesque hills and clear waters and smoke rising in spirals, the 170 students suddenly appeared at the same time. Along with them were 2 spatial element dragon bandits. As soon as these students appeared, more than 100 dragon bandits rushed out around them. These dragon bandits all looked ferocious and had all sorts of strange appearances. These students had never seen such a scene before. Some of the more timid ones fell to the ground in fright. Even the bolder ones retreated at this time. Seeing this, the 100 dragon bandits all laughed. They are all little bastards who have never seen the world. Look at that one, he is so scared that he peed himself, ha 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 ha. The leader of the bandits also laughed when he saw this. A few days ago, my master told me that the blood refinement technique needs to refine the blood of a giant dragon. Just one type of blood isn't enough, we have to gather the blood of all 5 elements, and the more the better. This is great, not only do we have the 5 elements, but we also have the ice, poison, and even poison attributes. The spatial element dragon bandit pointed at Kong Ming and said, "Boss, that kid also has the spatial element. When I brought these students back, he brought a few of them with him. When the students present heard this, their expressions changed drastically. It seemed that these dragon bandits were not ordinary dragon bandits, but dragons of the demonic path. There was such a giant dragon in the entire 10,000 dragon star zone. They felt that ordinary cultivation was too slow, so they took all kinds of shortcuts. Some of them sacrificed their own lifespan to cultivate, while others sacrificed the lives of other giant dragons to cultivate. The former was looked down upon by others and was called the demonic path. The latter was despised by 10,000 dragons. Once the entire 10,000 dragon star zone knew that there was a demonic dragon, they would gang up and attack it. Legend had it that the demonic dragons were all vicious and merciless, far from what the dragon bandits could compare to. The dragon bandits only wanted to kill dragons and steal their treasures. And these demonic dragons might not kill you in one go in order to cultivate. Instead, he's raising you so that he can cultivate and suck your blood every day. This was definitely a fate worse than death. Therefore, when they heard the bandit leader's words, many students were already trembling with fear and trepidation. They had lived in an ivory tower since they were young. Even when they went out to train, they had teachers by their side to protect them. They had never faced such a situation before. However, just as these students were trembling with fear, a ray of golden sword chi was instantly activated. Whoosh 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 whoosh, in a short 3 seconds, 5 rays of sword chi pierced through the heads of 5 dragon bandits. Not only that. Dozens of icicles pierced through the heads of 3 dragon bandits. This change happened so suddenly that even the dragon bandits could not react in time. The students of class 6 to 3 retaliated. Lei Ren also retaliated with them. He had also killed dragon bandits with Emosure before. Lightning energy was released and instantly electrocuted 4 or 5 dragon bandits. In just 5 seconds, more than 40 dragon bandits had already fallen to the ground. The dragon bandits were all shocked and hurriedly wanted to fight. But soon, the surrounding plants wrapped around their limbs like giant pythons. At the same time, a thick layer of ice formed on all the dragon bandits' bodies. The 2 layers of control made it impossible for them to fight back in a short time. Whoosh 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 whoosh, in another 5 seconds, more than 40 dragon bandits had fallen to the ground. Only now did the dragon bandits completely break free from the control. However, in just 10 seconds, more than half of the dragon bandits had been killed. This made the bandit leader very angry. He had thought that today would be a great harvest, but he did not expect that the ones he collected were all life-threatening ghosts. He really could not understand why these students were different from other students. He had seen many students on other planets, and those students were all so scared in front of him that they did not even dare to fart. Why the hell are these students so aggressive the moment they come up? Chapter 611. F***CK, kill him. The bandit leader was infuriated by the sudden change. With an angry roar, a beam of energy blasted towards Lei Ren. However, Lei Ren was paying attention to him. With a light leap, he dodged the energy. Then, he blasted towards the other dragon bandits. For a moment, these dragon bandits were caught off guard. As for the remaining 150 students, they were all dumbfounded by what they saw. How could these students from class 6 to 3 be so valiant? They were even more valiant than the dragon bandits. Previously, some of them were not convinced of class 6 to 3. However, at this moment, they were completely convinced. Especially for the 2 guys, Golden Sword and Tucheng Earth City, they are even more admirable. One of them was a sword and the other was a small dragon bandit. Moreover, not only was Golden Sword's attack sharp, but his judgment and grasp of the situation was also quite accurate. He knew that among these dragon bandits, the most difficult one to deal with was the spatial attribute dragon bandit. With him around, these students would be easily controlled by his spatial attribute. It would be difficult for them to resist. Therefore, Golden Sword's first target was the spatial attribute Dragon Bandit. He stabbed him in half with one sword. The other was a small Dragon Bandit with one punch. The most terrifying one was Earth City. Although he did not seem to have any moves or skills, he just swung his fists and went up to fight. But none of the Dragon Bandits could withstand one punch from him. And basically, no matter where the punch landed, a huge hole would be blasted in that area. One had to know that the bodies of giant dragons were extremely tough. Even those specially forged swords would not be able to break through their defenses if they were not imbued with energy. Now, Earth City was actually able to destroy the bodies of these Dragon Bandits with one punch with just his physical strength. How strong must he be? Soon, under the encouragement of the 20 students from Class 6 to 3, the other 150 students also stood up to resist. Naturally, they could not be as strong as the students from Class 6 to 3. However, the giant dragon's self-healing ability was extremely strong. As long as you dared to let go of your hand, you would be able to overwhelm your opponent in terms of momentum. Those Dragon Bandits might seem very ferocious on a daily basis. But at this moment, they did not expect that these students would not only resist, but also resist so fiercely. For a moment, they panicked. Especially when they saw the students from Class 6 to 3 kill the Dragon Bandits in one move, they panicked even more. Therefore, they immediately wanted to scatter and flee. However, they were slowed down by Mu Wanqing's control skill and the Ice Beauty's control skill. He was even slowed down by Kong Ming's control skill. After a few rounds of this, none of them were able to escape. In the end, a total of 133 Dragon Bandits were wiped out. Looking at the scattered corpses of the Dragon Bandits, the students from the other classes felt disgusted. Their stomachs were churning, and they all bent over to vomit. Only the students of Class 6 to 3, after their previous experience, were still a little disgusted by these things, but not to the point of vomiting. Even Mu Wanqing, who was usually the most timid, did not have any intention of vomiting at this moment. When the students from the other classes saw how valiant the students from Class 6 to 3 were, their admiration for Class 6 to 3 increased by a few points. Moreover, they were also in awe of the teacher in charge of Class 6 to 3. Before Instructor Mo came, although Class 6 to 3 was also very strong, they were far from reaching this level. Now, Teacher Mo had only been here for 2 months, and Class 6 to 3 was simply inhumanly strong. It was certain that even if the mentors of the academy were here, they would not be able to do better. Following that, these students rested for about 10 minutes. Then, they saw a drone in the distance searching in this direction. A moment later, it found these students. At the same time, in the giant ship, the mentors and a few higher-ups of the academy saw the students captured by the drone through the big screen. Those students were all covered in blood, which shocked the mentors. However, they saw that the students were at least still standing. If they could stand, their lives would not be in danger. This made the mentors heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, they saw more than 100 corpses lying around these students. They were even more shocked. Then, the dean hurriedly sent people to bring these students back. They asked these students about the situation. When they heard that the students of Class 6 to 3 had launched a counterattack, they were all shocked by the students of Class 6 to 3. Originally, it was already quite shocking that more than 100 students had defeated more than 100 Dragon Bandits. Now, the students of Class 6 to 3 had already launched a counterattack while the students of the other classes were still in shock. In the end, half of these more than 100 Dragon Bandits were killed by the students of Class 6 to 3. This shocked the mentors even more. They asked themselves, even if they encountered such a thing, it was very likely that they would not be able to achieve such a status. There were also some mentors who fantasized that if their students encountered such a thing and killed the enemies together, their students would be able to obtain a spot to participate in the 100-star tournament. However, even their students shook their heads. Compared to the students of Class 6 to 3, they were far inferior. They had saved their lives. How could they dare to snatch their spot? Moreover, even if they snatched that spot, what could they do when the time came? With their strength, they would only be beaten up if they went up. Only the students of class 6 to 3 could shine on such a stage and spread the name of the Cloud Sea Academy. In the end, the dean decided to award the Cloud Sea Medal to these 178 students. This kind of medal was usually only given out a few spots a year, but this time, 170 medals were given out at once. At the same time, other than the Cloud Sea Medal, the students of class 6 to 3 were also given the highest hero medal in the academy. One had to know that in the academy's tens of thousands of years of history, there were not many students who could obtain such a hero medal. Basically, it was obtained by the mentors. This time, 20 medals were given out at once. This was really an eye-opener. As for the 20 spots to participate in the tournament, they were naturally taken up by the students of class 6 to 3. However, the dean decided to add a substitute spot at the last minute. And this substitute spot was given to Lei Ren, who was as brave and fierce as the students of class 6 to 3 during the battle. This decision made Yu Yanran very excited. She patted Lei Ren's shoulder and praised him. "Kid, you've grown up." Lei Ren shook his head. No, it's because you taught me well." Hearing this flattery, Yu Yanran immediately felt good. "Of course." Lei Ren shook his head again. "I'm talking about mentor Mo." Yu Yanran's pretty face immediately darkened. Chapter 612. Those students killed more than 130 dragon bandits. Among them, there were more than 20 people in class 6 to 3, and they killed more than 60 dragon bandits. This increased Emosher's dragon slaying points by more than 60. Dragon slaying points, 1771000. Emosher looked at the dragon slaying points, but he was still not satisfied. If there were more of his students among these students, wouldn't he be able to get more dragon slaying points today? This gave birth to an idea. The students from other classes already knew how good his students were, and they all wanted to come to class 6 to 3. But they were limited by the school's rules, so they didn't have the chance. But wasn't the summer vacation coming soon? He could set up a summer tutoring class. As long as he tutored these students for more than 10 days, any dragon slaying points they killed in the future would be his. On the Cloud Sea planet, there was no such thing as tutoring classes. Naturally, there was no rule to restrict the teachers from setting up tutoring classes. Thinking of this, Emosher couldn't help but feel excited. After returning to the school, the dean invited Emosher to his office and explained some of the plans for the 100-star tournament in detail. He asked Emosher to help with the planning. Emosher smiled. "Dean, do you think the students I've taught still need any plans? They could crush them directly with their strength. Why would they need any plans?" The dean nodded. "Of course, the students taught by teacher Mo are all much stronger than ordinary students. But we also need to be prepared. Just in case." Emosher nodded. "Dean, you're right. How about this? I'll leave all the plans and records to you. I'll just be responsible for my 21 students." The dean smiled bitterly and could only nod. At this moment, he could already see that Emosher's strength was a level higher than his. In this world where strength was respected, Emosher's status was higher than his. So whatever Emosher said was the truth. In the blink of an eye, the summer vacation had arrived. The 100-star tournament would only start 20 days after the vacation. Emosher released the news in the school. Teacher Mo will be setting up tutoring classes during the summer vacation and recruiting students. Each class will be 10 days, and each class is limited to 100 students. The tuition fee is 1,000 dragon coins per person. Right now, Emosher wasn't in the mood to spend 2 months to train in the mountains like he did with the 20 students of class 6 to 3. Each period was only 10 days long. In 10 days, these students would be recognized by the system as his students. In 10 days, he had earned 100,000 dragon coins. Moreover, if there were more students, there would be more opportunities for talents to emerge. As a result, more people joined the army. By then, the number of people they killed on the battlefield would all be converted into their own dragon-slaying points. Just thinking about it made him feel good. Someone asked why he didn't spend 2 months to focus on teaching 30 to 50 people and make them become students of class 6 to 3, who were far more outstanding than ordinary students. Of course not. Wouldn't that mean he wouldn't be able to collect so many dragon coins? Moreover, Mo Shi would definitely become the enemy of the entire 10,000 Dragon Star region in the future. Wasn't grooming so many powerful students the same as grooming so many powerful enemies for himself? Mo Shi had his own considerations for all of this. When Mo Shi released the news, the entire academy went crazy in an instant. All the students saw how powerful the students of class 6 to 3 were. Previously, they had thought of all kinds of ways to enter class 6 to 3, but the academy's rules didn't allow it, so they could only regretfully miss it. They didn't expect that the instructor of class 6 to 3 would actually want to recruit students during the summer vacation. This was simply an opportunity given to them by the heavens. Of course, they didn't expect to be as powerful as the students of class 6 to 3 in 10 days. However, they heard that as long as Instructor Mo had taught students before, they would be able to make a breakthrough within a day. Just this point alone was worth 1,000 dragon coins. Thus, on the first day of the summer vacation, he had recruited 100 students within the first minute. When he recruited students, it didn't matter how powerful you were, who introduced you, or how good your talent was. All of them were recruited on a first-come first-served basis. This also made the students who didn't have connections, financial resources, or talent to be reassured. As long as they had 10,000 dragon coins, they would definitely be able to enter the tutoring classes in the future. Mo Shi asked Lei Ren to compile the information of these people and arrange them according to the order of arrival. In the end, all 800 students of the academy had signed up. Since ancient times, no tutoring classes had been able to recruit students as quickly as Mo Shi. He glanced at the name list and said to Lei Ren, "Remove you and class 6 to 3 from the list." Lei Ren widened his eyes. "Don't, Brother Mo. You're teaching others, why don't you teach us? This isn't very good." Mo Shi glared at Lei Ren. "The 21 of you have been by my side every day. I've already taught you what I should have taught you. Right now, the strength of any one of you is enough to crush the top students of the other academies. Following me is just a waste of time." Lei Ren could only helplessly shake his head. However, he wasn't worried about himself. Anyway, Mo Shi lived in the same courtyard as him. If he didn't understand anything, he could ask him at any time. Very quickly, 10 days later, the time for the first semester had arrived. On the last day, Mo Shi brought them to Earth's space to help them break through. Of course, although they had broken through in Earth's space, when they returned to the real world, they still hadn't broken through. However, because they had experienced the feeling of breaking through in Earth's space, when they returned to the real world, this feeling wouldn't disappear. Therefore, their breakthroughs would be much faster. In just half a day, all 100 students had broken through. This shocked everyone once again. Helping 100 giant dragons break through in one day was completely beyond the understanding of the giant dragons. After becoming an evolved giant dragon, it would take 100 years for each level to break through. This was very normal. Now, Instructor Mo had helped all these students break through in half a day. This was simply shocking. In the next 20 days, Mo Shi helped another 100 students break through to the next stage. The remaining students couldn't wait any longer. However, because the 100-star tournament would be held tomorrow, they could only wait for it to end. At the same time, the news that Mo Shi could help 100 students break through every 10 days spread like wildfire. In just a few days, it had spread throughout the entire Cloud Sea star. This news had even spread to other planets. However, many people on other planets treated this as a joke. They even said that Mo Shi was a swindler. Mo Shi didn't care about this. At the same time, the news that the students of class 6 to 3 led the 150 students to kill more than 130 dragon bandits didn't spread. This was because the dean had specifically instructed all the instructors to keep this news a secret. If this news was leaked, the students from other planets who were participating in the tournament would be on guard. Therefore, in order to catch them off guard, none of the students could leak this news. The students were all very self-aware. After all, this was related to the honor of the entire academy. They were part of the Cloud Sea Academy, so they naturally had to do their part for the academy. Chapter 6:13. Finally, on this day, the 100-star tournament began. As the teacher and teacher of the 20 students, Mosher naturally had to go. He also took the opportunity to learn more about the nearby planets. Although he had read a lot of information before, he couldn't understand anything just by looking at the information. You had to learn from all angles. The dean, a few leaders of the academy, Yu Yenran, Lei Ren, and the teachers and students of class 6 to 3. A total of 30 people rode a small spaceship and headed to the venue of the tournament, Martial Arts Planet. After reaching the level of evolved giant dragon, every giant dragon could fly in the air. However, their flying speed was far slower than a spaceship. Therefore, when going to other planets, they would usually take a spaceship. After flying for more than an hour, they finally arrived at Martial Arts Planet. The Martial Arts Planet was an artificial planet built by hundreds of nearby planets. The planet was not big, only about the size of Earth in the past. The entire Martial Arts Planet was built from solidified meteorite lava from the depths of the starry sky. It was extremely sturdy. Basically, giant dragons below the level of evolved giant dragon could not cause any damage to Martial Arts Planet. Even if a super-evolved giant dragon used its full strength, the damage it could cause to Martial Arts Planet was very limited. Moreover, after the damage, it was not as difficult to repair as other planets. The repair of Martial Arts Planet was relatively simple, as long as the damaged areas were melted and molded. The reason why the hundreds of nearby planets built Martial Arts Planet was for the super-evolved giant dragons to spar with each other. The super-evolved giant dragon's destructive power was too strong. No matter which planet they fought on, it would cause irreversible damage to the planet. Therefore, it was necessary to build such a martial arts planet. However, the number of super-evolved giant dragons was small, so there were even fewer spars between them. Therefore, Martial Arts Planet was often idle. Later, everyone discussed and finally decided to hold the 100-star tournament once every 10 years on Martial Arts Planet. Of course, most of the time, everyone could rent Martial Arts Planet. When the teachers and students of Cloud Sea Academy arrived at Martial Arts Planet, there were already many teachers and students from other planets. When these people saw Cloud Sea Academy arrive, they all more or less showed a trace of disdain. Tisk, it's that academy that always ranks last in every tournament. If you ask me, they should just not participate in the 100-star tournament. It's a disgrace. Since ancient times, the Cloud Sea planet has never been able to advance in anything. This is understandable. The dean and the instructors naturally knew what these people were talking about. During the 100-star competition of the past, Ocean of Clouds Academy had suffered the cold gazes of the other academies. But there was nothing they could do about it. Who asked them to be so weak? In this world where strength was respected, if you were not strong enough, then don't blame others for making irresponsible remarks about you. But this time, the dean and the instructors looked at each other and sneered in their hearts. All of you will know how strong our academy is once the 100-star competition begins. It wasn't exaggerated to say that the students participating in the 100-star competition this time were the strongest in the history of the academy. At this moment, a spaceship flew over from the horizon. There were two large golden words on the ship, Golden Crow. The teachers and students of the other academies all turned their heads to look at the spaceship. Their words were filled with envy. The Golden Crow Academy from the Golden Crow planet is here. The Golden Crow Academy has won the championship 4 times in the last 500-star tournaments. Based on their current strength, they are a unique existence amongst all the other academies. I heard that the students of their academy are ridiculously strong this time. Basically, all of them are at the 8th rank or above. There are even 2 at the 10th rank. Yeah, they even poached an instructor from another planet. That instructor's teaching standard is rather high. With such an instructor guiding such students, it would be difficult for them to not win the championship. Alas, looks like we'll be accompanying them again. It didn't take long for the instructors and students of the Golden Crow Academy to disembark from the spaceship. Even though their expressions didn't change, it was obvious from their eyes that they were very proud. They had an innate sense of superiority when facing students from other planets. Their dean glanced at the other deans, and then his gaze descended onto the dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy. He walked over with large strides. The instructor who led the group behind him was the one who'd been poached from Ocean of Clouds Academy, Jean Pontu. The dean of Golden Crow Academy arrived before the dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy and patted him on the shoulder. Ha 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 ha. Old fellow, you're still alive. The dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy roared with laughter as well. You're still alive, so how could I dare to die first? The dean of Golden Crow Academy spoke sarcastically. Don't place last in this competition. Even my heart aches for you. They were old friends who'd known each other for over 10,000 years. They often spoke sarcastically to each other. However, when it came to the competition, it was the dean of Golden Crow Academy who spoke more sarcastically to the dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy. The dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy had no choice but to grit his teeth and swallow it. However, he was filled with confidence this time because he had the students of Class 6-3 with him. However, he didn't show it on the surface. He wanted to give the dean of Golden Crow Academy a huge surprise in the end. He even couldn't wait to see the dean of Golden Crow Academy's surprise and disbelief. The dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy couldn't help but feel delighted when he thought about how the other deans would react. At this moment, Jean Pontu led 20 students over to the students of Class 6-3. Glancing at the 20 students he had once taught, he chuckled. All of you are doing well. The students of Class 6-3 were angry. People always wanted to climb higher. The Golden Crow Academy gave them a lot of money, so it was normal for them to go there. However, they had to at least finish teaching in this academy. At the very least, they had to inform the academy in advance so that they could be prepared and find other substitute instructors. However, they didn't do anything before, and they just left after talking to the dean. They left Class 6-3 behind. That was simply too unkind of him. The class monitor, Shui Bolan, snorted. Very good. Jean Pontu laughed. I'm very surprised that all 20 of you can participate in this competition. It seems that you've been working hard after I left. Shui Bolan snorted again. Do you think we can't live without you? Behind Jean Pontu, the 20 students of Golden Crow Academy were all unhappy when they heard that. It's you who are too weak. Instructor Jean is not willing to teach you. The planet at the bottom, the academy at the bottom, and the students at the bottom. Who the hell is willing to teach you? After that, they turned around and left. The students of Class 6-3 all glared at them angrily. Mo Sure looked at the backs of those students and Jean Pontu and said to the students of Class 6-3, if you meet them, beat them to death. Chapter 6:14. There were more than 100 planets, more than 100 academies, and each academy had 20 students. In total, there were more than 2,000 students. The organizing committee of this tournament started with the lot drawing ceremony. This tournament used an elimination system. No matter who the student was, as long as they lost a match, they would be eliminated. This system was quite cruel to the students, but they had no choice. Living in this 10,000 dragon star region, they had to face such cruel rules. This was the so-called natural selection and survival of the fittest. Class 6 to 3 students finished their lot drawing. The dean and a group of academy leaders led Class 63 students into the inner part of the planet. The inner part of the planet was hollow, and there were all kinds of living and entertainment facilities. Basically, when the instructors and students of each academy entered the planet, they started to study intensely and explained all kinds of martial arts knowledge to the students. Only Yunhai Academy's instructors were very relaxed when they entered the inner part of the planet. After entering the inner part of the planet, Emosher directly told the students that he was tired and wanted to sleep. They were free to do whatever they wanted. Then he went into his room. He didn't care about the students anymore. The students were happy to be free. They strolled around the streets here and played in the entertainment places there. They had a lot of fun. On the other hand, the students of the other academies were locked in their rooms to train alone. They didn't go out for the whole day. When the masters of the other academies saw that the students of Yunhai Academy didn't do their jobs, they all laughed in their hearts. Yunhai Academy really didn't improve. Who said they didn't? They were last place every year, and they still didn't learn their lesson this year. Especially Jean Pontu, when he saw how relaxed the students of Class 63 were, he couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. The good seedlings I brought were all ruined by that instructor Mo. When the dean of Jinwu Academy saw this, he also shook his head. That old guy's academic skills were getting worse and worse. He brought a bunch of rubbish. The students of Yunhai Academy naturally knew how the others thought of them, but they didn't show it on their faces, but they were laughing coldly in their hearts. Laugh, laugh, laugh all you want. When tomorrow's 100-star tournament starts, it will be too late for you to cry. If there were words, it would be long. If there were no words, it would be short. The night quickly passed. At 9:00 in the morning on the second day, all the instructors and students came to the surface of the planet again. On the surface of the martial duel planet, there were a total of 100 huge circular battle arenas. Each arena had a radius of 10 kilometers. Around the Colosseum, there were spectator seats that could accommodate tens of thousands of people. Although the spectator stands were far from the center of the arena, the dragons were able to see everything clearly with their eyesight. However, all the students were divided into 100 arenas, so it was impossible for the audience to watch all 100 arenas. Therefore, there were over 100 giant screens floating in the air above the arena. Through these giant screens, the audience could easily see the situation in each arena. None of the activities in the 10,000 Dragon Star area had the lengthy speeches of the leaders on Earth. Therefore, under the referee's command, the battles of the 200 students in the 100 arenas began at the same time. There were 3 students from Class 6 to 3 in the first round. The 3 of them basically finished the battle with a single move. However, there were too many students on the field, so no one paid any attention to them. Everyone's attention was on the contestants from the Golden Crow Academy and the other seeded academies. Finally, after the first round, the 3 students from the Golden Crow Academy had won. Almost everyone was busy congratulating the Golden Crow Academy, so they ignored the fact that the 3 students from the Cloud Ocean Academy had won more easily than the Golden Crow Academy. On the contrary, Instructor Jean from the Golden Crow Academy was surprised to see that the 3 students from Class 6 to 3 had all advanced. Yo, I didn't expect you guys to advance too. Not bad. He didn't hide the ridicule on his face as he spoke to Emosher. Emosher couldn't be bothered with such a person and didn't even bother to talk to him. However, this didn't make Instructor Jean leave. Instead, it made him even angrier. I'm a real gold medal instructor, and you're just a substitute instructor. How dare you ignore me? When your students encounter the Golden Crow Academy, it'll be too late for you to cry. In the next few rounds, the students from the Golden Crow Academy and the Cloud Ocean Academy all advanced. As the total number of people had reached more than 1,000, no one paid attention to the Cloud Ocean Academy. Everyone was busy celebrating the advancement of the Golden Crow Academy's students. Instructor Jean, you're really good. All your students advanced. The Golden Crow Academy is worthy of being a gold medal academy. All of them advanced in the first round. How enviable. Looks like the champion this year will be the Golden Crow Academy again. The first round ended in the afternoon, and the second round would be held the next day. Because the strengths of the students that were able to enter the second round were even stronger, the instructors of the various academies were concentrating on guiding their students, and they instilled all sorts of theoretical and practical knowledge into their students. On the other hand, the students of Ocean of Clouds Academy were still wandering about freely on the streets and scenic spots. Many instructors and students couldn't stand it anymore. Sure enough, they're here on a public holiday. I wonder why such an academy and such instructors still exist. If they were on our planet, they wouldn't even live for half a year. However, only those students who were defeated by the students of the Cloud Ocean Academy today realized how powerful the students of the Cloud Ocean Academy were. Their instructors also realized how powerful the Cloud Ocean Academy was. Basically, as soon as they met, they cupped their fists and bowed, and in the next second, their students were directly knocked down to the ground. They had never seen such powerful students before. They were simply heaven-defying existences. Did they even suspect that these people were students? Could it be that they were teachers of the academy in disguise? However, when they mentioned this to the instructors of the other academies, they were rolled their eyes at. They said that it was an excuse for their elimination. The second round continued on the second day. The students of the Cloud Ocean Academy still won. Of course, no one paid attention to them because all the attention was on the Golden Crow Academy and the other seeded academies. The Cloud Ocean Academy was still the target of ridicule. But this time, there were much fewer people who ridiculed them. Because many who ridiculed them before were defeated by them. However, this wasn't the goal of the Cloud Ocean Academy. Their goal was to defeat the Golden Crow Academy and Instructor Jin's students. Because there were only 500 students left, the 20 of them would very likely encounter the students of the Golden Crow Academy tomorrow. At that time, they would show everyone how powerful the Cloud Ocean Academy was. Chapter 6:15. The next morning, all 2,000+ students and instructors came to the surface of the 5 Stars Battle Arena. There were over 1,000 students participating in today's competition, and the Golden Crow Academy from planet Golden Crow was still the most favored. Their strength was indeed far superior to the students from other academies. The first 3 students defeated their opponents within 5 seconds. This was an eye-opener for all the instructors and students present. That Jin Ming from the Golden Crow Academy is so powerful. He defeated his opponent in 5 seconds. That Tu Hao is also very strong. His pair of hammers are swinging vigorously, and his defensive skills are dazzling. And that Kong Se is actually a rare spatial attribute expert. His spatial skills are impossible to guard against. The other academies can only pray that they won't be beaten to death if they encounter these students from the Golden Crow Academy. At this moment, another student from the Golden Crow Academy entered the arena. This student was Jin Ming's twin, and his name was Jin Xiang. He used a pair of swords and killed his opponent in one hit in the last round. His opponent just happened to be Jin Jian from the Ocean of Clouds Academy. The competition was about to begin, and the contestants from both sides entered the arena. Everyone was still optimistic about the students from the Golden Crow Academy. This Jin Xiang and Jin Ming are brothers, right? They look so similar. That goes without saying. They're obviously twins. Since Jin Ming is so strong, Jin Xiang shouldn't be too bad. Of course. I heard that they have the same talent since they were young, and their speed of advancement is the same. Their strength is about the same. Moreover, look at his opponent, he is from the Ocean of Clouds Academy. Why don't you take a look at what the Ocean of Clouds Academy has been doing these past 2 days? Others are revising and cultivating, while they are strolling on the streets. It would be unreasonable if they still want to get a good ranking. Get the hell down from the Ocean of Clouds Academy. Don't go up and embarrass yourselves. Don't you see how strong the Golden Crow Academy is? You are just looking for a beating. When Jin Xiang heard these discussions, he didn't pay any attention to them. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Jin Jian naturally heard these discussions and curses, but he didn't care. His face didn't have any expression. What he was thinking in his heart would be known by the three of them later. At the same time, all the teachers and students from the Ocean of Clouds Academy had the same thought. They couldn't wait to see the surprised and puzzled expressions on these people's faces. The competition begins. Following the referee's order. Clang! The sound of a sword being unsheathed could be heard. At the same time, a golden sword light illuminated the entire area. The next moment, a sword light pierced through Jin Xiang's heart. At the same time, Jin Xiang fell down powerlessly. The golden sword light disappeared solemnly. At the same time, Jin Jian stood with his hands behind his back. His face was still expressionless. His gaze was still as sharp as a sword. At this moment, silence reigned. The entire martial arts arena was silent. Everyone's eyes and mouths were wide open as they stared in disbelief at the situation on the Colosseum. They didn't even see what happened. At the same time, the big screen in the arena was replaying everything that had just happened. When the referee announced the start of the fight, the crowd was stunned. Jin Jian's right hand suddenly condensed a sword light and instantly pierced through Jin Xiang's heart. The speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness of the attack caused him to be unable to react at all. Everyone who saw this scene widened their eyes and mouths as they stared at the big screen in disbelief. Once again, the entire place fell into dead silence. It wasn't until a moment later that someone reacted. How is this possible? He actually killed Jin Xiang in an instant. He's just a loser from the Cloud Sea Academy. How could he kill a genius from the Golden Crow Academy in an instant? Especially the Dean of the Golden Crow Academy. At this moment, the teacup in his hand was shaking slightly. Instructor Jean Pontu from the Golden Crow Academy was staring at Jin Xiang in disbelief. He knew these students the best. Although Jin Xiang and Jin Ming were twins and people thought their strength was about the same, in fact, Jin Xiang's talent was slightly higher than Jin Ming's. In particular, Jin Xiang's swordsmanship was much higher than Jin Ming's. Therefore, his strength was higher than Jin Ming's. At the same time, because he had taught Jin Jian for more than 30 years, he was very clear about Jin Jian's strength. Jin Jian's level was 3 levels lower than Jin Xiang's, and his strength was much lower than Jin Xiang's. In his opinion, although Jin Xiang couldn't kill Jin Jian in an instant, he could at least defeat Jin Jian in 3 moves. However, the result was exactly the opposite. Jin Xiang was killed by Jin Jian in an instant. He couldn't accept it at all. He had only left for more than half a semester. How could Jin Jian's strength change so drastically? However, this was the truth. He couldn't accept it. He could only send other students to carry the seriously injured Jin Xiang down. Then, he checked Jin Xiang's injuries. The sword light pierced right through Jin Xiang's heart. It was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was completely different from the style he used to teach. Obviously, after he left, there was an expert who taught Jin Jian. He turned his gaze and looked at the rest area of the Cloud Ocean Academy. Was it the Dean? As a super-evolved dragon, the Dean was most likely to be the one. However, he had never seen the Dean use a sword. Was it another instructor? It didn't look like it. None of the other instructors had such sharp swordsmanship. Was it that stranger? He had never seen him before he left the academy. However, this guy looked sloppy. When the students were playing outside, he didn't come out to discipline them. When the students were suffering from sinus infections, he also acted as if it had nothing to do with him. He sat there as if he was enjoying the scenery. How could he have such sharp swordsmanship? However, it was unlikely for anyone except him. He couldn't figure it out. He decided to go back and investigate after today's competition. The competition continued. After a while, the Earth Element Dragon of the Golden Crow Academy was fighting against the Earth Element Dragon of the Cloud Ocean Academy. The Earth Element Dragon of the Golden Crow Academy was called 2-Dashin. In the previous rounds, he had killed his opponents in an instant. Although he wasn't as strong as 2-Hao, in the eyes of the other academies, 2-Dashin was also a rare genius. In their eyes, 2-Dashin of the Cloud Ocean Academy was just looking for a beating. When 2-Dashin got on the stage, Jean Pontis said, "Killing him in an instant is too easy. Go up there and torture him to death." 2-Dashin nodded, "Don't worry, instructor." Soon, both sides got on the stage. The audience cheered and cheered once again. Of course, their cheers were not for the Cloud Ocean Academy, but for the Golden Crow Academy. Chapter 6:16. In everyone's eyes, Golden Crow Academy's students were seeded contestants. Although Jin Xiang was defeated, they still had 19 seeded contestants. So when 2-Dashin went on stage, almost all the students cheered excitedly. Because they had seen 2-Dashin send his opponent flying with one punch. That was definitely a visual impact. "Dashin, Dashin, your power is boundless. Dashin, Dashin, I love you, I want to have a baby with you. Dashin, kill him." Golden Crow Academy's student, is there a need to say? He can easily kill the guy on the other side. 2-Dashin leaped over a kilometer and landed in the middle of the arena. 2-Cheng had been waiting there for a long time. 2-Dashin looked at 2-Cheng as if he was looking at a hoodlum. He said in disdain, "Your academy's student just heavily injured my classmate." 2-Cheng chuckled and scratched the back of his head. "Sorry, I'll apologize to your classmate on his behalf." 2-Dashin saw this guy admitting defeat the moment they met and felt even more disdain for him. "Hee, if apologizing is useful, why do you need me to come up?" 2-Cheng was also puzzled and scratched the back of his head again. "Yeah, why did you come up?" 2-Dashin was speechless for a moment. He wondered if this guy had a screw loose in his head. "Why do you think I came up?" "I don't know." "Beat you up." Saying that, 2-Dashin leaped out. Originally, the two of them were 50 meters apart. But with 2-Dashin's leap, the distance between the two of them instantly shrunk to 1 meter. At the same time, his right hand clenched into a fist and with the momentum of charging forward, he instantly punched out. It fiercely blasted towards 2-Cheng. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. He wanted to kill this guy in one hit. They had seen 2-Dashin's punches before. Although the power was extraordinary, it was not as powerful as before. After 2-Cheng leaped out, there were 2 deep footprints left on the ground where he was previously standing. 2-Cheng had used his full strength right from the start. Boom, there was a loud sound. A shockwave spread out in all directions. Fortunately, there were energy shields around the arena. These energy shields were specially arranged by the tournament's organizing committee. They had invited over 100 rank 10 evolved dragons to inject their energy into them. No matter how strong these students were, as long as they had not reached the level of a super evolved giant dragon, it was impossible for them to break through the light barrier. However, at that moment, under the impact of the shockwave, a crack actually appeared on the light barrier. Although this crack was extremely small, it still shocked all the teachers and students present. Cracks have appeared on the defensive barrier. Just the shockwave alone was enough to crack the defensive light barrier. How powerful was that attack? That fellow from Ocean of Clouds Academy was probably blasted into bits, right? He won't die. After all, death is allowed in the grand competition. But it will definitely be a serious injury. I understand now. Jin Jian from Ocean of Clouds Academy heavily injured Jin Xiang from Golden Crow Academy, so 2-Dashin used his full strength as soon as the battle began. He's taking revenge for Jin Xiang. At this point, everyone finally understood. No wonder Jin Xiang used his full strength from the beginning. Then, everyone looked towards the center of the arena. In the middle of the arena stood a man. He was still in a punching posture. Contrary to everyone's expectations, the person standing was not Tu Dashin. It was Tu Cheng from Ocean of Clouds Academy. On the opposite side of Tu Cheng, at the edge of the arena 5 kilometers away, there was a figure stuck on the energy light barrier. At that moment, half of the figure's body had already disappeared. The remaining half of his body was stuck in the energy barrier, blood spurting out from his mouth. His back had already smashed a hole in the energy light barrier. His entire back and buttocks were stuck on the energy light barrier, exposing the outside of the light barrier. At that moment, everyone was extremely shocked when they saw this scene. This person was none other than Tu Dashin. This is Tu Dashin from Golden Crow Academy. Oh my god, what's going on? What the hell happened? Everyone looked at the miserable earth mountain inconceivably, and looked at the field that seemed to have done nothing, a harmless Tucheng Earth city. Then, they looked at the big screen in the air. On the big screen, Tu Dashin was charging towards Tu Cheng, covering 50 meters in one step. Tu Cheng did not make any shocking movements. He simply stretched out his right fist and met Tu Dashin's fist. Boom, the two of them punched each other. Then, Tu Dashin was instantly sent flying backwards. Even if it was a slow-motion replay, but even in the slow motion, his flying speed was still extremely fast. From this, it could be seen how fast he was sent flying. Seeing the slow-motion replay, everyone's eyes looked at the Tucheng in the center of the arena. Tu Dashin's strength was at the top of the 2,000 students. But this guy's punch actually reduced Tu Dashin to such a state. Just how strong was he? Even most of the instructors couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. They knew that they could not take Tu Cheng's punch head-on. How did this guy train? It was said that during the previous test, he was only a rank 1 evolved dragon. At that time, all the mentors and students were laughing at him and Ocean of Clouds Academy. Is there no one else in Ocean of Clouds Academy? They actually sent a rank 1 evolved dragon to participate in the tournament. Now, everyone finally knew how terrifying this rank 1 evolved dragon's strength was. In the previous match, after Jin Jian had shown such a powerful strength, many people regarded Jin Jian as their biggest opponent. Especially Golden Crow Academy, they planned to focus on studying Jin Jian. But now, they realized that Tu Cheng was even more terrifying than Jin Jian. Looks like they had to focus on studying this guy. However, this was just the beginning. Next, Shueibua, Kongming, and even Hickey Wanqing all displayed powerful strength. And coincidentally, their opponents were all from Golden Crow Academy. In the end, they all defeated Golden Crow Academy's students in one move. Finally, in today's battle, 12 students from Ocean of Clouds Academy faced Golden Crow Academy's students. All of them defeated their opponents in one move. More than half of Golden Crow Academy's students were eliminated. At this point, all the students and mentors were shocked. They looked down on Ocean of Clouds Academy the most, but they did not expect it to be so terrifying. As long as they encountered a seeded contestant, they would basically crush the seeded contestant to the ground. How could they be so strong? Chapter 6:17. In this round, 12 people from the Golden Crow Academy had fallen. All of them had fallen at the hands of the students from the Cloud Sea Academy. Moreover, all of them had been killed in one move. Even the weakest rank 1 evolved dragon, Tu Cheng, had been able to kill Tu Dashin in one move. Moreover, his battle was the most shocking. Only now did the instructors and students of the academy come to a sudden realization. So the students of the Cloud Sea Academy were actually so strong. They couldn't help but look at the students of the Cloud Sea Academy with a bit of reverence. This was a world where the strong were respected. The strength displayed by the Cloud Sea Academy made all the instructors and students look at them in a new light. As for the instructors and students of the Golden Crow Academy, besides being shocked, they felt slightly embarrassed. The Dean of the Golden Crow Academy looked at the Dean of the Cloud Sea Academy from afar as if he was looking at a stranger. He had known this old fellow for so many years. This old fellow was indeed very strong, but in terms of learning, he was far inferior. So much so that the Cloud Sea Academy was basically the last few in every 100-star tournament. He didn't expect it to soar so high this time. This was definitely not the ability of that old fellow. Thinking of this, the Dean of the Golden Crow Academy turned to look at the instructors of the Cloud Sea Academy. He and the Dean of the Cloud Sea Academy were old friends, so he often went to the Cloud Sea Academy. He also knew these instructors. Based on his understanding of these instructors, none of them had such ability. At this moment, his gaze swept over to Emosure, who was sitting in his seat and looking around casually. Could it be him? From this fellow's temperament and other aspects, it didn't seem like it. But besides him, there was no one else. Looks like I have to get to know this fellow as soon as I go back today. At this moment, Jean Pontu felt as if he had eaten 12 piles of shit. Furthermore, they were fed by the students that he had taught in the past. Especially Tu Cheng Earth City. In his eyes, Tu Cheng was a complete piece of trash. In the past, he had used all kinds of methods, but he couldn't make Tu Cheng improve even a little. Moreover, Tu Cheng couldn't improve, so he gave up on himself. He became the last in the entire class and even the entire academy. In the 30 years he has been leading these students, Tu Cheng Earth City has never had any eye-catching performance. Unexpectedly, in just over 2 months, the strength of Tu Cheng Earth City has changed so dramatically. What the hell was going on? After the battles came to an end, all those deans and instructors who were ridiculing and disdainful towards Ocean of Clouds Academy had come over to greet the deans and instructors of the academy. Obviously, he was trying to make friends. The Dean of Ocean of Clouds Academy naturally felt amused as he gazed at their ugly faces. Weren't they all quite capable in the past? Why are they all trying to curry favor with me now? However, he didn't dislike it. This was because it was the natural behavior of dragons to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Moreover, since these fellows had come to curry favor with him, it would make things easier for him in the future. For example, if the equipment in Ocean of Clouds Academy wasn't complete, then he could allow his students to visit the other academies and even borrow their equipment. However, Emosure didn't care who they were and rejected them all. He completely ignored them. After they returned to the academy that night, the instructors of the various academies started to study Ocean of Clouds Academy. He studied the instructors and students of Ocean of Clouds Academy. It was even to the extent that some academies even exchanged their experiences. In the end, all of them came to a consensus that the reason Ocean of Clouds Academy had suddenly become so strong was entirely because of Instructor Mo. However, they knew very little about Instructor Mo's background and identity. It was even to the extent that they utilized a considerable amount of their connections to investigate Emosure's identity. However, they were unable to find anything in the end. According to Emosure's identity, they were only able to find information about Emosure after he arrived at Ocean of Clouds Academy. They were unable to find out what he did and where he'd been before he arrived at Ocean of Clouds Academy. But the more it was like this, the more mysterious Emosure was to them. Moreover, the more mysterious a person was, the stronger that person was. If there's an expert in Ocean of Clouds Academy, then it can only be Instructor Mo. Did all of you notice the dean's attitude towards him today? It didn't seem like the dean was speaking to an instructor at all, and it seemed like the dean was speaking to a senior instead. Yes, I noticed as well. Instructor Mo's identity is so mysterious, so he's definitely a great figure. So, we have to be careful before him in the future. Don't offend him before we figure out his identity. You make it sound like we can offend him once we figure out his identity. As soon as these words were spoken, all the other instructors could only shake their heads and laugh bitterly. To be honest, even if they figured out Instructor Mo's identity, it was very likely that his background would be able to shock them to death. So, it seemed like it was best not to figure it out. During the next 3 days, the final rounds of the competition were carried out. The remaining 8 students from Golden Crow Academy were practically instantly annihilated when facing the other academies. However, they were instantly annihilated when facing Ocean of Clouds Academy. In the end, the remaining 8 students from Golden Crow Academy were eliminated as well. Even the strongest amongst them, Jin Ming, was actually instantly annihilated when facing Mu Wanqing, who seemed to be the weakest amongst the students from Ocean of Clouds Academy. This allowed everyone present here to experience how terrifying the students of Ocean of Clouds Academy were. All of them couldn't help but look at Immortal once more. Exactly how formidable is this instructor Mo to be able to teach such a group of students? In the end, when the competition came to an end, 12 of the top 20 were students from Ocean of Clouds Academy. As for why the remaining 8 hadn't been able to enter the top 20, it was because the students of Ocean of Clouds Academy had encountered each other before they even entered the top 20. For example, Mu Wanqing was no match for Jin Jian during the competition to determine the top 16, so she could only be eliminated. But even then, not a single student dared to look down on Mu Wanqing. All of them unanimously felt that if it wasn't an elimination system but a point system, then it wouldn't be a problem for all the students from Ocean of Clouds Academy to occupy the top 20. Of course, there were some students from Ocean of Clouds Academy who felt rather disappointed. It was Lei Ren. He'd finally been able to follow them here, yet he could only be a spectator in the end. Mo sure couldn't help but roar with laughter when he saw Lei Ren's aggrieved expression. He consoled. "Don't worry, you'll have a chance to participate in the next competition once you graduate." Lei Ren puckered his lips. "What if you graduate and lead a new batch of students? At that time, it'll be another 20 students from your class." Mo sure waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about that. It's troublesome enough for me to lead these 20+ students. I won't lead any more after I'm done with them." Mo sure had already made up his mind. After he returned to Ocean of Clouds Academy, he would run his own tutoring class properly. He would spread the name of his tutoring class. At that time, it would be held every 10 days. It would save him a lot of trouble, and he would be able to collect more money. Moreover, he would be able to make the system acknowledge these students as his students. 3 birds with 1 stone. Chapter 618. The Cloud Ocean Academy used their overwhelming advantage to become the champion of the 100-star competition. The 20 students of the Cloud Ocean Academy were deeply engraved in the minds of the over 2,000 teachers and students. Their performance, their domineering temperament, and their ruthlessness caused all the teachers and students to be deeply impressed. As for their teacher, Mo Sure, he was deeply engraved in everyone's mind. What kind of teacher was able to teach such students? How terrifying was the teacher's strength to be able to teach such students? On the last day of the competition, all the teachers and students gathered for a meal. A large gathering of over 2,000 people could be said to be a magnificent sight. During the meal, many teachers came to toast the dean of the Cloud Ocean Academy. Of course, there were also many teachers who came to toast Mo Sure. I only toasted these people, but I didn't refuse any of them. These people all praised him for his great alcohol tolerance, but they were all silently wondering where this fellow came from and how strong he was. These people thought that they had become friends with Mo Sure after drinking with him, but in reality, Mo Sure was just drinking. As for making friends with them, they could go fuck themselves. He didn't want to make friends with so many people now. He only wanted to nurture his students. When the time came, his students would spread all over the world. Would he still need to care about the faces of others? No one from the other academies left first. They all sent the teachers and students of the Cloud Ocean Academy to their flying ships and watched them leave before leaving silently. After the conference ended, a name began to spread on more than 100 nearby planets. This name naturally belonged to Mo Shi, Teacher Mo. At the beginning, the students of the various academies were talking about how amazing this teacher Mo was, and how valiant the students he taught were. Because these academies were the strongest academies on each planet, the legends of these students quickly spread across the entire planet. Thus, Mo Shi's name spread throughout the nearby 100-plus planets in an extremely short period of time. Of course, this was all in the future. When the students of the Cloud Ocean Academy returned to the Cloud Ocean, they received a warm welcome from the entire planet. After all, this was the greatest honor that the Cloud Ocean Academy had received in the past 100 years. The teachers and students of the Cloud Ocean Academy had brought honor to the entire planet. The entire Cloud Sea Star held a grand welcoming banquet for the Academy. At the welcoming banquet, Mo Shi's status was also very high. For a time, Mo Shi was in the limelight on Cloud Sea Planet. During the banquet, Mo Shi made an important announcement. Instructors, students, and officials, taking advantage of this banquet, I would like to announce an important decision. Mo Shi raised his glass and said. Hearing Mo Shi's words, all the instructors, students, and officials turned to look at him. Well, in order to cultivate more talents for Yunhai, I've decided to open a summer cram school. The cram school will recruit students from all over Yunhai. Hearing Mo Shi's words, the students present immediately became excited. After all, only students from Cloud Sea Academy had attended Mo Shi's cram school. Today, those who had arrived at the venue were the genius students of the various academies. When they heard that Mo Shi had led so many students to achieve such good results, they wanted to acknowledge Mo Shi as their teacher. However, the academy had its own rules, and it wasn't something you could do as you pleased. They were worried about how to get Mo Shi's guidance. They didn't expect Mo Shi to announce that he was opening a cram school. How could they not be overjoyed? The officials and instructors present were also surprised. Although there hadn't been a cram school in their world before, everyone knew that Mo Shi had opened one before. In their opinion, Mo Shi was a very quiet person who stood aloof from worldly affairs. There were many things that Mo Shi found troublesome. Why would he announce that he was recruiting students from all over Yunhai? Mo Shi continued, the cram school I'm opening doesn't have any requirements for talent. No matter how high or low your talent is, even if you're trash, as long as you attend my cram school, I guarantee that you'll be able to advance by one level within 10 days. If your level is low, you can even advance by 2 or 3 levels. As soon as Mo Shi said this, it immediately caused a wave of exclamations. Mo Shi's cram school didn't have any requirements for talent. This made everyone exclaim in disbelief. After all, almost every academy had a requirement for talent when they recruited students. Actually, this was understandable. If you didn't have any talent, it would be a waste to spend so much effort, manpower, and money on you. Now, Mo Shi was recruiting students without any requirements for talent. Moreover, he guaranteed that every student would advance by at least one level within 10 days. How could this not surprise everyone? If an ordinary person said this, they would probably be beaten half to death on the spot. However, it was Instructor Mo from Yunhai Academy who said this. After all, Instructor Mo had just led so many students and won the championship in the 100-star tournament in an absolutely crushing manner. Moreover, Instructor Mo's ability to advance by one level within 10 days was also confirmed by the Yunhai Academy. Even if they didn't believe in others, how could they not believe in Yunhai Academy? In the end, Mo Shi said, I only have one principle when I recruit students. Everyone hurriedly listened attentively. As long as you have money, as long as you have 1,000 dragon coins, I guarantee that every student will advance by one level within 10 days. When everyone heard this, they were all extremely excited. Especially the students. 1,000 dragon coins was indeed very expensive for ordinary people. However, these 1,000 dragon coins were nothing compared to the cost of leveling up once. After all, many people needed over 100 years to advance by one level. Could it be that you couldn't even earn 1,000 dragon coins in 100 years? Thus, many students immediately came to Mo to ask about all kinds of problems. The scene instantly became chaotic. The officials felt quite embarrassed. According to the customs of Yunhai planet, no one would set up a cram school like this. In their understanding, this was something they were accustomed to. Such a cram school didn't have any qualifications, and the quality of the teaching couldn't be guaranteed. Thus, such a cram school couldn't make any money at all. If a teacher really set up a cram school like this, they would be looked down upon by others. These officials all wanted to dissuade Mo, but Mo didn't break any laws. In fact, Yunhai planet didn't have such laws at all. Thus, these officials could only feel embarrassed. The dean of Yunhai Academy and a few people who wanted to curry favor with Mo all wanted to remind Mo that it wasn't good to leave the officials to the side like this. If you don't go through the officials and apply for any documents and things like that, do you still have any respect for the officials? However, Mo didn't care about all this nonsense. Even if I do it, what can you do to me? With his results and his current limelight, no one would dare to do anything to him. Chapter 6:19. On the second day after the banquet, Mo's summer cram school started. When he signed up in the morning, it was even more crowded than the last cram school. He asked the students in his class to compile a list of names. In the end, more than 3,000 people signed up in the morning. Of these 3,000 people, 100 people formed a batch. There were 30 batches in total. In other words, the number of people who signed up in one day was enough to fill a whole year. No cram school on earth could be so popular. After the day of registration, Mo stopped signing up. This made the students who didn't sign up regret it. That afternoon, 5 students that Mo helped broke through. One of the students, who was only an ordinary giant dragon, advanced 3 ranks in 5 minutes. This shocked all the students. They were all enthusiastic about learning. Of course, with so many students, Mo didn't have time to teach them. Instead, he assigned these people to his 21 students. Each of them was in charge of 5 people. Those theoretical knowledge and so on were all taught by these students. Only at the last stage of advancement would Mo personally guide them. 10 days later, the first 100 people had graduated. Every one of them had advanced by at least 1 rank. As the saying goes, reputation is the best advertisement. After these people graduated and each of them advanced by a level, the news spread. They told their friends and relatives about their advancement. Some people even wrote all kinds of articles and videos on the internet to promote Mo's cram school. These kinds of online articles and videos quickly spread. Of course, many people thought that these were fake news. Some people even directly called for the government to ban this person and remove these fake news. But soon, the government came out to speak. Recently, someone spread rumors that Mentor Mo's cram school is fake news. In this regard, we solemnly declare that Mentor Mo's cram school is not fake news. His cram school was spread by word of mouth among the students. Moreover, it is true that you can advance in 10 days. No matter how old you are or how high your aptitude is, you will definitely advance in 10 days. At the same time, we will maintain the right to pursue those who maliciously slander Mentor Mo. Once this statement was released, it was equivalent to official confirmation. Those who had said that Mo's cram school was false were not only slapped in the face but also disappeared without a trace. As a result, Mo's summer cram school became even more popular. There were hundreds of thousands of people asking about it on the internet and calling to inquire about it. Mo had no choice but to turn off the phone. For the rest of the summer vacation, Mo's cram school continued. Mo had recruited more than 600 students in just 60 days of the summer vacation. These students had basically all learned his various 9 dragon transformations. Of course, Mo did not teach them all the 9 dragon transformations. After all, their aptitudes varied. It was impossible for everyone to learn everything in 10 days. Most people only learned the first transformation. Only an extremely small number of people with aptitude and intelligence managed to learn the second transformation. Mo also planned to keep those heavenly geniuses by his side and teach them the various third dragon transformation. These few students who were able to stay by Mo's side all cried out in relief. But the 21 students of the academy were even luckier. They were very glad that Mo could come to the academy. Otherwise, with their aptitudes, it would be impossible for them to stay by Mo's side. Moreover, through these 2 months of teaching, they could also see that Mo was serious about teaching them at that time. Not only did he teach them the various 9 dragon transformations and let them level up, but he also brought them to gain experience and even took them to suppress bandits. This allowed their progress to far surpass these ordinary students. But now, these students were basically just leveling up and teaching them the various 9 dragon transformations. He did not care about anything else. As a result, these students' greatest gain was only leveling up. As for their combat strength, compared to the 21 of them, the difference was like heaven and earth. Of course, they only knew this in their hearts and would not say it out loud. In their opinion, it was already very good for these students to be able to level up. You've only paid 1,000 dragon coins, allowing you to advance by 1 stage and learn such a profound cultivation technique and skill. What else do you want? There were still many other students who wanted to squeeze their heads in, but Mo didn't want them. After school started, Mo only went to the academy in the morning and continued with his tutoring classes in the afternoon. He had already taught these students everything he could, so there was no point in staying in the academy. And these students came to help Mo every afternoon. To them, being able to stay by Mo's side was already a great fortune. Strictly speaking, Mo's current actions were against the rules, but the academy turned a blind eye to Mo's actions. Such an outstanding teacher naturally had to have some special privileges. If you don't give him some privileges, why should he stay in this lousy academy? The Cloud Sea Academy was only one of the most remote academies in the entire star field. With such great ability, he could go to the best academy in the entire star field, get the best treatment, and make friends with the best talents. Time gradually flew, and in the blink of an eye, a year had already passed. In addition to the original 21 people, Mo took in another 79 students, making a total of 100 people. He kept these 100 people by his side and trained them. Gradually, the strength of these students reached the level of the original 21 people. With such a force, no matter which academy they went to, they would definitely be the target that those academies would fight over. Now, they were all gathered under Mo's command. Originally, Mo thought that the days would pass by in such an ordinary way. Once the number of people under his command reached a certain level, he would go to other planets. But on this day, there was chaos on Cloud Sea Planet. The Cloud Sea Planet's Star Lord died suddenly. It was important to note that the Cloud Sea Planet's Star Lord was a 4th-grade super-evolved dragon. Under normal circumstances, he should still have tens of thousands of years of life left. Why did he suddenly die? But none of this was important. Next was to choose the Star Lord's successor. After the death of every Star Lord in the entire star field, the star field would choose their own successor. Of course, the successor could also be chosen according to the previous Star Lord's last words. But this generation's Star Lord had trained 2 people before he died. Kong Hai and Shi Mingyue. Kong Hai was a space attribute super-evolved dragon. He had reached the 3rd level. Shi Mingyue was an extremely rare time attribute super-evolved dragon. She had also reached the 3rd level. The 2 of them each led a group of forces. They attacked each other, both wanting to be the new Star Lord. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.